welcome on back. Thanks for sticking with us through that one. We are back with the official English language broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship, where we are about to see Flash Wolves fresh off a loss against Matchy, coming up against AHQ Esports Club. And this is an interesting one. There is a lot we could say about this.
I think Flash Wolves, they're at least warmed up for this.
Yeah.
I'd like to say they're still favored as well. This is going to be AHQ showing up on your screens now. AHQ come in a little bit more fresh. I think the good news for AHQ is they just saw Flash Wolves lose to a team they're expected to beat. That looks good for AHQ. Now, AHQ is a team that is already, based on match results, doing much better than Matchy. So, technically, based off that, if you're AHQ right now, you're thinking, wow, if Matchy just beat Flash Wolves, we should absolutely beat Flash Wolves.
And what will have also happened in that is Flash Wolves have just exposed the weakness. So even if AHQ didn't feel good coming into this, they can now look at Flash Wolves and go, all right, we can exploit that same weakness, surely. We can figure this out. And no doubt that's going to be what they try and do. Flash Wolves here on your screen, yeah, they're the ones coming into this fresh off a loss that went to Game 5 as well. So not only do they have to suffer the mental blow of losing, they also have the sheer fatigue of having to play 5 matches and then go into a whole other series against a very threatening team.
So here's the thing for Flash Wolves is part of the reason I think they've had mistakes and they've been performing weirdly, and I want to say poorly as well, is they are experimental. This is the first night they're saying, hey, chuck some supports on DPSs, let's try this out. Let's not have either Zonda or Bacon Jack play Soldier, chuck it onto Sinclair, chuck it onto K-Momo, do all of these things. It's not working. Tonight's not the night for Flash Wolves to be experimenting. Here's the facts. They've already beaten Matchy in the past, 3-0. They beat HQ in the past, 3-0. They can absolutely repeat that. Now, to repeat
3-0 or 3-1?
I'm pretty sure...
Okay.
I know for a fact...
If it was a 3-0, it was the kind where the score doesn't say everything. Like, I do recall it being actually quite a close matchup, at least on some maps, but...
Which matchup are you talking about here?
Flash Wolves HQ.
Yes, okay, so that was definitely 3-0, because that was the very first game we started with. Now, was it close? I think there were some moments that were close, but I specifically remember, because I casted that match, and I said the two teams felt very similar, very, very closely matched up. Now, the big difference was Bacon Jack and Zonda were heavily outskilling Dizzy and Calman. So that was the big difference. And I think for Flash Wolves, they already have a method for beating AHQ. The big question is, are HQ going to do some sort of experimentation tonight? They're going to pull something out weird? Are they going to try something different? Are they going to nail the triple DPS? My initial thought is no. And I don't think Flash Wolves should try it either. Look, they've already beaten HQ in the past. Do what has worked. Put your DPSs on your DPSs. And that's how you're going to beat AHQ, and this is HQ now.
Yeah, well, speaking of DPSs, Cowman and Dizzy both, and then Eric N and Lazy Titan, both their tanks. Kara Scrappy, their 2 supports. And I feel like if they're going to pull out a third DPS, it would probably be Lazy Titan, just based on his other play. Like, he tends to be their
Eddie
diva,
Boss
he tends to be their...
Yeah, so Eddie Boss is benched tonight in favor of Kerry, so that's really interesting to sort of note out there as well for anyone that's kind of curious about the lineup. HQ do run 7 members, which includes 3 supports that they sort of rotate around, but Crappy is the one there to stay.
Well, and perhaps actually that's because maybe Kerry's is their 3rd DPS. So it'll be kind of interesting to see.
Actually, you're right.
Because, I mean, you were also just mentioning some teams are actually putting the 2nd support onto the DPS role, which is kind of interesting. I just want to touch on something else, though, regarding the first time these guys met, because we have actually had a bit of a hard time really drawing many conclusions from week 1 matches from really any teams. I mean, like, Blank looked shaky against Detonator, right, in their week 1 match. That is not a performance that has been repeated by them, except for when they played against Hong Kong Attitude, which was, to be honest, a different kettle of fish, because it was more down to their mistakes rather than down to nerves, which is what their game versus Detonator looked like. So,
or lack of preparation.
Yeah,
which was
so there's the thing, right? Yeah, so, you know, Flash Wolves AHQ on not just week 1, but also day 1, the very first game full stop. There would have been big nerves on both sides. Like, this is quite significant for both of these teams. You're playing in front of a live audience. It is a home crowd, and this is 2 organizations that play each other a lot across a lot of different esports in Taiwan. So there's actually a lot riding on this one in terms of the precedent set of, okay, which of these teams is looking stronger for this tournament? So it's actually hard to say that that performance in and of itself is fully representative of how these two teams match up. The rest of their results did kind of agree with what happened in that match, but the results of that match itself could very easily go the other way, I feel, because there's only so much we can draw from those Week 1 performances.
So here's the thing I want to say about HQ versus Flash Wolves in Week 1. Flash Wolves played a really clean game. I felt, in fact, both teams really played a clean game.
Just to
look at the
refresh
same
you.
lineup again. It is going to be Zondo and Bacon Jack again on offense, Jongi and K-Mom on tank, Sinclair and Realman on support, although based on what we just saw from Flash Wolves, that could all change up in various ways that we're not prepared for now. What
Sinclair tends to have been their third DPS so far.
Yeah. All came over, but usually Sinclair, which I don't know. I feel like you want to keep the extra support there. Different story that what I want to get into is Flash Wolves versus HQ Week 1. Both teams, but in particular Flash Wolves, played a really tight game. Flash Wolves made very little mistakes there. Very little mistakes where you can really point out and be like, wow, that was a big deal. Like, what did they do there? Now, against Machi, there were various moments where it was like, okay, this is not the kind of mistakes a team like Flash Wolves should ever be making, yet here we are. Now, in match, you were saying like, oh, maybe nerves, first match of the whole tournament, what have you, playing a live crowd. Fantastic, except I felt like Flash Wolves played a much tighter game back in Week 1 than they just showed us previously earlier on the match.
And that's a performance they're actually going to carry now into this match. To kind of touch on something just semi-related to Flash Wolves' lineup as well, because we're sort of speculating on these third DPSs. One of the other things we saw, funnily enough, on Lijiang Tower, right at the top of that matchup against Machi, they put K-Momo on Soldier and then ran triple tank, which is like it totally flies. Yeah, which totally flies in the face of what we expect out of their players. Now, here's my thinking, right? In terms of trying to match triple DPS, K-Momo is obviously one of their options, and I feel like what they may have been trying to do, just to kind of speak to their defense here a little, we talk a lot about Blank's flexibility, and one of the things that comes with that is if Blank are playing triple DPS and they need to switch it up to triple tank, any two of their DPS can swap over to tanks. Whereas I don't know if that was just on paper true of Flash Wolves, and I feel like they were just trying to get comfortable with their two DPS that would normally stay DPS being the two that swap onto tank and their one tank. Because sometimes with the ultimate charge, right, you're not going to want to swap the same player off every single time. You're going to be sitting there going like, okay, we don't want to swap the soldier off just because he's normally our tank player, because he's got a tactical visor and we need that for this next fight.
Ideally,
so maybe
you want to
that's
keep the same composition the whole game.
Yeah. Big maybe though. Big disclaimer over that one in massive shining flaming letters, right? That is a very big if. That is massively conjectural, but if that was the case, that could actually explain at least that particular performance on Lijiang, which looked very strange.
Now,
first map though, AHQ's pick is going to be Nepal.
Yeah, that's a very expected pick.
And you
like
mentioned
I said
this,
earlier, HQ, their number one control pick has been Nepal. In fact, they've been the only team to consistently pick Nepal. Before I get into that, I want to touch up on the possibility that Flash Wolves, now we're talking a lot about these compositions, like Flash Wolves running these weird compositions, tanks playing some DPSs, supports playing some DPS, this guy doing this guy doing that, cool. Now, reasoning for that, we kind of pointed that out as well. I want to be able to believe that Flash Wolves did that against Machi because they were confident they were going to beat Machi. So that was going to be a matchup where you can afford to experiment. Because you're second, Machi are sixth. You've already had an amazing performance against them in the past. Now's your chance to try these things out. It didn't work out for them now against HQ. I want to believe that Flash Wolves are going to play something a bit more tried and true, something a bit more practice for them, and something far less experimental, because they're going to need that for their consistency to actually beat HQ again, I think.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Kesno Wizardo, I have noticed you, but unfortunately it's 5 to 2 in the morning, so it's not even low noon, let alone high noon, so I'm sorry, I'm not quite.
I mean, if it was midnight, I'd be like, what is that? It's high moon?
No, that's low noon.
High moon?
High moon, that's good. Good one. Well done, well done. High moon, isn't that FlyQuest? No, it would be low noon, I feel. But Nepal, it's a pretty cold map.
We're back on this, are we? Are we doing this again?
Yeah, well, I wonder what's colder. Do you think it's Volskaya or do you think it's Nepal? Because Volskaya is more northerly, but
Nepal's literally higher up, like elevation-wise.
Yeah, elevation-wise, and that's
way colder, dude. Come on.
Well, not necessarily.
Let's be honest. Watchpoint Antarctica just wins hands down.
Because wind chill is a factor. So if this was on a sheltered side of the mountain, it could be a different...
I don't know. Does this look sheltered or does it really look sheltered?
I don't know. I haven't been there. Volskaya is on this big open plain. If there's wind, it's going to rip right through you. I don't know.
What we do...
Jeff, please answer.
And the next developer update, just let
Everyone tweet at Jeff Kaplan to get him to answer my pressing question. It's important. If he can respond to the forums, he can respond to me.
Speaking of pressing, we are going to be starting things off on Shrine. And look at this, it's K-Momo back onto Soldier.
Hello.
But at least the other two DPSs are playing two DPSs, so that kind of works out.
Well, this is what they had done though on Lee Jung before they swapped off Bacon Jack and Zonda onto tanks, but let's just see how the rest of this kind of plays out. Because so far, AHQ do actually feel a little bit more set up on this point, and actually Zonda getting picked off should kind of confirm that position for them, as K-Momo still trying to put DPS onto the
he's
point.
Uncontested, which is good.
They've managed to pick off Dizzy, but again, they're still kind of losing too many members just because they aren't really in a position to actually assault AHQ with how they're set up, and they are just going to have to back away from this.
Yeah, I like. See, this is the discipline I wanted to see out of Flash Wolves against Machi. In a different situation against Machi, Flash Wolves would have just committed anyway, but against HQ, they respect HQ so much, they understand, look, we actually do need to back up. Now, Bacon Jack, if he can get as long as Bacon Jack is alive on Tracer, I think Flash Wolves always have a chance to get back in this.
And essentially, yeah, but it's not looking too great for them as Zonda gets picked up as well. I mean, he'd have to do a lot of work, and this is a triple tank lineup out of AHQ. I mean, there's only so much one Tracer can do as Dizzy's kind of cleaning up the rest of the team. And to kind of speak to that, I don't actually think this particular lineup of triple DPS is the right one to break this particular lineup of triple tank.
Yeah, you know, I've actually seen Farah take the place of Soldier in this. I just don't think Soldier is really what you want as a third DPS. I would prefer K-Momo to jump on something like a Zaya or a Diva to sort of combat this. Zonda and Bacon Jack on these two DPSs already is enough damage, I feel. So
that's a pretty good dive in though. They're all kind of stuck in Cowman's Graviton as the Sound Barrier comes out for HQ just to keep them alive.
It's a late Transcendence.
Yeah, they're really committing to this. It is a late Transcendence, maybe a little bit too late, and a very late Sound Barrier too, but it's kind of working out for them because AHQ were kind of forced into committing more ultimates, and it's K-Momo just kind of wiping that one up there. That was actually kind of interesting by Flash Wolves. That was that often what we would call overcommitment, but that time around, they forced the ults out of HQ.
Well, I would have preferred Saintclip to have used the Transcendence to actually save Jongi. That would have made a bit more sense to me.
Cherry on top.
You know, Jongi did actually end up dying before Transcendence came out. Now, like I said, as long as Bacon Jack is alive, Flash was always got a shot, and so they did. Bacon Jack did a ton of damage. That came over again, was uncontested. That's exactly what Flash Wolves need. Now they're turning up the aggression a little bit.
Yeah, already picking off Dizzy. It's a really good one to buy Flash Wolves a chunk of time there, because AHQ were actually coming into that one with a pretty solid ultimate advantage, and now maybe Flash Wolves can even it up.
You know what? Dizzy actually kind of needs to go McCree here. Dizzy's had a fantastic kind of performance on McCree so far. McCree deals with both Genji and Tracer to some degree with Flashbang. So that kind of works here, but the Soldier, we'll have to see about that. He does get picked off rather easily so far that we've seen in this game.
Yeah, certainly they could just be holding it for that nano visor, but here it comes out now. They're not really able to find anything. Yeah, good kind of protection coming out for these squishy backliners, and also good use of cover out of Flash Wolves. Yeah, that's two ultimates gone, and now Flash Wolves commit two of their own. Not actually finding anything with the Pulse Bomb as they unfortunately lose Bacon Jack. Cowman really starting to swing back, plenty of charge in the tank here. That is a good Sound Barrier as well. More mileage for AHQ, and Zonda, yeah, in a lot of trouble. Maybe able to retreat safely, but it is a retreat. That's going to give AHQ the space to get onto this point now. K-Momo still off to the side. He's kind of going to be separated from his team here if he's not careful. Sickly getting picked off. Should flag a retreat for Flash Wolves.
And this is another situation for Flash Wolves where they needed to decide, hey, look, are we going to be able to turn this one around or not? Zonda thought yes, so he goes in with the Dragon Blade, completely shut down. Didn't have the health, didn't have the support. He deflected and ran away and double jumped more in that Dragon Blade than he actually swung the blade.
I call that the oops. Like, oops, Dragon Blade, oh, but I'm surrounded. Oops, better deflect him back away.
And luckily, there was no nano boost, because so many times, Flash Wolves, they would have also committed the nano boost there, and you would have just had no result. Here comes Camo.
Yeah, what is in his
straight
sight?
into a shield, straight into a sleep dart, and his entire team gets grabbed as well.
Yeah. And they're all just caught up in a Graviton. That actually forced the ultimate out of Sinkler as well. That was not necessary at all. Good ultimate out of Dizzy, I suppose. May have been a bit of an overcommitment, and Zonda does pick him off. But that's going to be the overtime ticking down in favor of AHQ. And I mean, Dizzy is well justified to throw out that ultimate just to maybe help secure it, given that it was right at the end. In any other situation, it would have been an overcommitment. But honestly, credit to HQ, man. They just played that way cleaner.
Yeah, HQ, towards the end in particular, they did a fantastic job of actually protecting Dizzy, and they got a decent amount of mileage off of Dizzy as well. They dealt with the divers. Jongi goes in with the Primal Rage. HQ didn't try and immediately engage the rest of Flash Wolves there. They saw, okay, we can actually kill Jongi here. They managed to get the kill on Jongi. They get the kill on Bacon Jack as well. It's 6v4. Zonda decides to still go in. Big mistake. HQ completely take advantage of that. Punish Flash Wolves. Put themselves in a winning position. Look, now it's 90% and they win.
Yeah, HQ just set themselves up really, really nicely. I mean, through and through, that was a well-deserved win. I wouldn't even say Flash Wolves made significant mistakes. They're actually looking cleaner than their series just been against Matchy. So let's see if they can just push it that little bit. Yeah, let's see if they can push that a little bit further because HQ are actually looking quite good.
Goodbye, Eric.
Yep, not looking so good anymore.
This is the kind of advantage that Flash Wolves need. Big tank advantage, big shield advantage, and the pressure through now. Have to catch Dizzy if they can, but they're losing a lot of ground. A sleep guard as well.
Good retreat by AHQ, actually, just to kind of stop Flash Wolves. Oh no, are we going to see this again? For real? Just the floor is ice. That's the thing. Nepal is so cold, and Flash Wolves are kind of sneaking the point around to the side. This should pressure AHQ onto it as Lazy Titan comes about, and the fight kind of pivots over to the point itself now, as actually it's AHQ who
Flash
had their
split.
Yeah, AHQ are the ones with their DPSs on the high ground because Flash Wolves kind of had to retreat. So now Flash Wolves have kind of given up. Shouldn't say kind of, because they have. They've given up the little bit of ground they had after getting that pick right at the top from Cowman, didn't leverage it, and just kind of backed away. AHQ well set up, and Flash was looking a little skittish.
The opening boot from Crappy completely set that one up. As soon as AHQ knew they had the advantage, they went directly for the point Flash Wolves wanted to follow, but hey, they were second onto the point. They had to back out of there, and now AHQ in a commanding position. That's going to be the Nano boost.
Yeah, it's the Nano Visor as a whole, as actually the Sound Barrier was committed out of HQ to outlast that one as they commit their own Nano Visor, and it gets way more mileage. Zonda got none. Dizzy gets them all. He actually got kills? The whole team. That was 6. That was the full wipe. Jongi only just respawned.
You kind of wish in this game, like, the announcer just goes crazy for you, like, wow.
The only thing is Hexakill doesn't sound
it's not like
as... For some reason, H is just not impactful.
Pentakill +1. Anyway, back into the action. It's going to be Graviton Surge.
That's a good swing back from Jongi, but they don't really have the mileage to follow it up. Yeah, as now K-Momo is going to commit a Graviton. This is really, really messy at the door here, but AHQ are kind of holding the upper hand. Need to be quick on the retreat here because Flash Wolves are looking to put the pressure on, rightfully so. And a good pick onto Erican should open the way for them, as now they're the ones barreling onto the point. AHQ, decent retreat here, not committing any more ultimates for it. And they should be able to swing back, but Flash Wolves making good use of the little mileage they got out of what they had.
Crappy just going to be this sacrificial lamb right at the end as well, trying to buy as much percentage cap for HQ as possible. Sacrificial frog would probably be a little bit more accurate.
I can't do a ribbit.
Well, you just did. It wasn't a good one. It wasn't a good one.
That wasn't a ribbit. That was bar.
Anyway,
Erican, oh dear.
He's always in these sort of situations where he's incredibly at risk, and I'm not too sure what it is. If it's Flash Wolves taking advantage of poor positioning, or HQ failing to keep
I'm actually going to give that one to Flash Wolves. They are very, like, they know how to leverage the aggression. And I mean, Erican, he's not even positioning badly. It's just he has to kind of position there for AHQ to have a shot at getting through while they charge up, probably specifically the Graviton. But Flash Wolves are just doing everything they can to stop it from working, and that's just good play.
This is a good opening. It's going to force HQ back so quickly, and HQ just want to engage. HQ want to use ults here.
And now again, Eric down. Yeah, what? Because again, after that goes down, they have to go out swinging quickly before Flash Wolves get their other ultimates up, or the ultimate economy just runs away with your opponent. So Erican had to go for that, and he paid for it with his life because Flash Wolves actually played that very, very well. They knew he would be drawn out at that point, and they got the pick. Now with the route, they take AHQ down pretty solidly, and they keep the ult economy in their favor.
They should have given Realman that kill. Zonda takes it anyway. I don't know. I'm trying to play this one super, like, really efficient. Realman's super close to ult charge here, so kind of giving that kill to him would have been pretty good. Now, HQ been sitting on a bunch of ults for some time now. Grab is going to be really important for them. Still got to watch that it might get eaten up by Bacon Jack. Now, are they going to dodge the fight or actually go for it? I'm a little bit confused as to what HQ are trying to do here.
I think this might be a bit of a mind game. I think they might kind of be sending Erican out as bait. Now, here comes the sound barrier out actually, but they aren't in position. They didn't complete the pincer, and again, Erican going out here. Yeah, not really getting any mileage out of anything they threw into that one, and my goodness, did AHQ throw a lot. And the point nearly
97.
completely ticked up. Yeah, they're not going to get a toll on this one at all. Carriers miles away from it. Flash Wolves sound cap. Good idea by AHQ at the end, but they actually committed the ultimates before they were quite in position for it. And again, Flash Wolves very quick, very decisive in stopping AHQ as Erican went out with the move.
Let's look at the single repeated mistake every single time they got caught out for Flash Wolves. Erican at the start. What happened at the exact start of Sanctum? Erican died. Jongi took forward positioning. Now, what saved AHQ and kept them in the fight was a very well-placed sleep dart by, I believe it was carrying straight onto Jongi. So that sort of nullified the Reinhardt on the Flash Wolf side just enough to make it, turn it back to a 5v fight. Crappy then got the boop onto I believe it was K-Momo, which then gave AHQ the initial advantage to get the cap itself, and AHQ did a great job of holding on, but Erican getting constantly picked off again gave Flash Wolves the advantage, who then never lost the cap after they retook it.
Well, different kettle of fish now as we come out to the village.
HQ gave that one up. They just completely gave it up. Now they have to reposition, which is I can kind of agree with that.
Dizzy
though, he's still
the reason I do agree with this is because getting past that door and then getting into a favorable position against the Farah is very difficult. This is equally, not equal, it is still difficult, but not quite as difficult. And yeah, AHQ kind of barreled for that one a bit too quickly, not really respecting the fact that given they had to retreat from the first push, Flash Wolves did get into position to anticipate the second one. So Flash Wolves, quite rightfully, are going to set themselves up on the point.
Here's the thing, I don't agree with AHQ kind of backing out the way they did. They have a diva. Walk out with your Matrix. What are those rockets going to do? They're going to do absolutely nothing. You will get out for free. Now, by completely repositioning, guess what? You're late to the actual point now. You give Flash Wolves the ability to actually set up. And that's exactly what they did. Now, Dizzy came in through the back, didn't get anything done.
Okay, same thing again. They're just going for a quick commit, going to try and circumvent this Farah. This time it actually works a bit better. They're onto the point, yeah, and Flash Wolves know that this is how you deal with the Farah, right? The Farah can't fight on the point. She can only shoot into it.
They just stole the
This
cat.
is inherently, this is inherently a 5v6 because Flash Wolves couldn't react quick enough to how fast AHQ moved. Now AHQ are the ones in the favorable position as they already pick off one, and that's a really nice open. They forced the ultimate out of Sinclair, so there is one back here. They're getting the trades back now. Actually, Flash Wolves, Dizzy, not really finding any kills, needs to close something out. Does just barely find Bacon Jack, but he's going to go down off the back end of that, and because of the ultimate committed out of Zonda, they might just be able to close this one out. Oh, but a good graviton towards the end. This is still really anyone's fight, depending on who gets the kills, and because a couple of members of AHQ went down first, they actually get the respawns in. Both teams completely exhausting their resources. AHQ holding onto the cap, and should actually now be able to set themselves up properly on the defense.
And that's the thing, AHQ came out on top of that fight in so many different ways, but mostly the fact that both teams committed ultimates. Meanwhile, AHQ were taking the control cap the entire time. Flash Wolves, yeah, you're using all your ultimates, you're getting no progress on your cap whatsoever. AHQ, they're happy to let you use those ultimates. They're happy to use ultimates of their own in response. And now they're looking at 56% with ultimates of their own.
Zonda must swap. I said it right at the top here. Zonda, he cannot fight on the point. He can only shoot at the point, and that's actually not enough. They're better off with a different DPS altogether. They're better off with maybe even a Genji.
Sinclair has to swap as well if they want to do that. That's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to swap
and
two
already
heroes.
A good ultimate actually out of K-Momo might just be all they need. I mean, they're kind of getting, I don't want to say lucky mileage, but they're getting enough mileage for now. AHQ looking to swing back if they can. Not really finding it again. Lazy Titan now going down, and actually Flash Wolves just through sheer frags are going to be able to secure this one in spite of being very unfavored for that fight.
I want to say it's the Bacon Jack effect. I mean, he's able to just get the damage, and when we saw him, he was able to get so many free shots. And
well, okay,
totally
to their credit, K-Momo got two people with the self-destruct. I mean, Bacon Jack kind of cleaned up after that.
Yeah, I think the opening was good, the initiation was good, but really the damage coming out that won it towards the end, that was Bacon Jack. Sure. Anyway, we're into the next fight. Flash Wolves have control. They need to keep them.
That's a big one out of Erican. They need to close them off though, because there was a clutch sound barrier in there, and Singler's holding onto a res as well. There he goes, tempo res, and this swings it back in Flash Wolves' favor. Now going to top off Jongi before he goes back in to recommit. He's actually caught in a favorable position by the Graviton, and now he's going to be able to commit into this fight as again, the Graviton not enough because they couldn't close out the kill, so Flash Wolves continuing to hold.
Well, Zonda, when you take a fight outside, just like you said, he can get a decent amount of damage.
That makes it a 6v6.
Yeah, that's you're absolutely right. And they're getting mileage out of the res as well, which so far, I don't think they've resed yet. So a lot of the times when you're running a Mercy, it feels like you're just playing with 5 ultimates because the res doesn't come into play for a decent amount of the game. But when it finally does, that's when you feel like you're actually playing 6 ultimates again. Flash Wolves in a pretty decent position. 86 on both sides. Flash Wolves, I want to say, have the ultimate advantage here, but Dizzy, if you can get a couple of kills, this will be HQ's opening.
But he's going to get Realment, sure, but they're not in a favorable position. They're totally spread out
The Bacon Jack effect, look at it.
This is a terrible position for them because they all pulled back to kill Bacon Jack. Bacon Jack had already picked someone off. They lost Cowman in that move, and now they are scattered and separated as they try and get onto this point. And they're not going to get onto this point. You're 2 split, and this is Farah territory, man. This is backcountry as Flash Wolves set themselves up 2-1.
HQ had some interesting moments there. They, what I liked about HQ rather was when they immediately played for the cap, forced Zonda into the tight and close positioning with a low ceiling. That's when you're correct and Zonda has nothing to play with. He gets very little room to play with. Now, every time Flash Wolves took a fight outside in the open spaces, Zonda had free roaming up there. That's when Flash Wolves were way ahead and way favored for every single fight. So HQ, they had a couple of good fights where they controlled it. Other times, Flash Wolves were ahead for all of those.
And to speak as to why that happened as well, we saw it on the very first push. HQ went, oh no, let's not go that angle against the Pharaoh. Let's go through the main kind of doors. Because,
which again, I don't agree with.
Because,
but,
well,
you know.
I understand the reasoning, but because they'd already tried one and then had to go for a different option, Flash Wolves were set up, so the Pharaoh worked. Second time around, HQ went, let's rush the point. It worked, they got on. And then from that point on, the moment Flash Wolves had control, they did not let HQ pull it off again. This time around, though, HQ outswinging
Eric's so low.
Oh, that was a very quick boot by Crappy to try and buy space, but yeah, goodbye indeed. Not enough. But hold on, this is a very, very deep, way too deep Jongi. And actually, the trade back is really big for them, picking up Realman off the back end of it as well. Even losing Crappy, now actually Erican is going to be able to get back onto this one. And again, Flash Wolves have to see the position. See you, Bacon Jack. No, Flash Wolves are going to have to see the positioning. AHQ well set up.
I think Flash Wolves played into a beautiful buy grenade from carries that really set up the counterplay from HQ. Yeah, they lost Erican, but as soon as Flash Wolves turned on the aggression, they were answered with the buy grenade, which completely put them into the opposite position.
Well, and this time to kill Erican, Jongi had to compromise his position. He was way too deep, and they were able to then kill the exposed Zonda. That was huge. K-Momo! The poops again. This floor is icy, icy, icy. Jongi in a really tough spot here, sure to go down any second. Now, there we go. A bit of a role reversal as Eric gets it. Nice Earth Shatter as well. They definitely need Zonda. But even without getting him, they've got enough members of Flash Wolves here. Good mileage out of that one ultimate. AHQ, very successful fight win, and the ult economy is a rollin'.
For AHQ indeed, and they have the progress as well. Bacon Jack going down early. Not good for Flash Wolves. Can't really have the Bacon Jack effect when you don't play Tracer with Bacon Jack. That's kind of the big difference.
Yeah. It's not really the Bacon Jack at all. It's, you know what, I can't think of a suitable pun for this one. Let's just let the fight play out. AHQ, plenty of ultimates. Sure. This is the classic defense. Commit the Graviton here. Need to get the kills, though. They've got a lot of members low, and that's actually maybe just enough. Bacon Jack did not quite get his ult off in time, and they do just barely start cleaning them up in the nick of time there, and again are able to keep the ultimate economy on their side. Going to be a slightly tougher one next fight because Flash Wolves will have a few more.
There's only going to be one fight left because we're heading towards the 80% mark, which is definitely in the one fight territory now for Flash Wolves. They got two ults out of AHQ. Unfortunately for them, Erican is about to charge one back up. So still sitting on 4 now against 4. Still a much better position for Flash Wolves. Now Zonda, if he had killed Crappy, that would have been a game changer.
Because he was up in the air when he started channeling the ultimate. It was a long way down and nearly died there, but it doesn't matter. Flash Wolves, they're getting the mileage out of this tac visor because Zonda uncontested on the side here. Much like how Dizzy was contested when he tried to do so good. Yeah, like he tried to do the same thing last time when these guys met on this map, but it didn't work. And then Zonda, he did make it work. HQ were not quick enough to react to Zonda on the side.
And HQ used all of their ultimates. They completely, they're dry now. They got nothing to work with. Flash Wolves, they have the grab, which is going to be important. They need to win this entire fight off one grab and possibly a great buy grenade as well. Likely, I don't think they can afford to use Nano Boost, but they might have to.
They may just want to draw ultimates out of Flash Wolves instead, though. And actually, Flash Wolves are going to commit too, so that's pretty nice for AHQ.
Flash Wolves have to.
Yeah, they absolutely do. The only thing they hold on to here really is the sound barrier, and they are okay to do that because they've got this Earth Shatter still in the pocket, but this time AHQ will come back to some of their own. Again, they need to get a lot of mileage out of it, like you said, but it's very doable.
I want to be able to say that Flash Wolves should have played it in a way where they could leverage the bio grenade to secure them the majority of the damage.
They're kind of giving Cowman a lot of space here, actually. If they really want to get a lot out of this Earth Shatter, they should have been going for a more aggressive defense, but Cowman didn't give them the room.
I really don't want HQ to really commit here. I want HQ to try and bait a few more ultimates out of Flash Wolves, put themselves in a more favorable position before HQ do the full commit.
What you want doesn't seem to matter because they are going for it. They're going to try and commit it straight. Oh, no! Jongi and Erican both the double boop, and now 2 Gravitons to come out. Sorry, just 1 to come out, but no follow-up just yet. Flash Wolves, they haven't lost many members yet. Bacon Jack nearly with an ultimate. If they pick him off, though, it's not going to matter. And actually, HQ nearly got the cap through that. If Flash Wolves, they kind of have to pile onto this one just to keep it contested. And that's an unfavorable position for him. Yeah, he's trying for it. This is a great position for him because he picked off Zonda, who was lying in wait much the same as Dizzy was, and waited a little bit too long. That was very well forced by AHQ. Very finely executed.
I think for HQ as well, they're looking for gaps. They're looking for gaps where they're saying, hey, we could hold here, or we can. This is an exploitable gap that we can use to win. Now, Crappy was a bit of an MVP so far in Sanctum in particular, consistently getting the boop kills in a way that Realment wasn't. Now, Crappy was always, like, in most fights, like every second fight, you could say there was going to be a boop kill of some sort in there, whether it be on Jongi, whether it be on K-Momo, doesn't really matter. He's getting it done. And AHQ are doing a great job of capitalizing off that. They've been doing it all throughout Nepal, and this is going to be the final map. It's already 2-2. Someone has to take this now.
Flash Wolves again going to come out of this one with the Pharah, but this time AHQ, they're not going to go for that first push. They're going to try and deathball their way onto
this is good. They're already on the point.
Bum rushing it. Exactly. This is what worked last time. They just weren't able to do it in the first fight because they had to realize that there was a Pharah first. Now they're the ones set up. Once again, this is functionally a 5 versus 6. The Pharah cannot affect this fight, not well enough at least.
To be honest, like...
maybe a bit of a misposition here though by Dizzy. He needs to get on that point.
If Bacon Jack can't secure that kill though, I want to be able to say that Mercy's, single playing Mercy doesn't really give it any effect either because he's stuck onto Zonda, he's just lashed onto Zonda, so kind of turns into a 4v6.
No one's getting picks though. If they could secure Jongi here, then they're kind of good.
That was massive!
Huge. Yeah, right as it came up, didn't even need to close out on Jongi, and they actually pick off Realman off the back end of that one as well. They will have a res coming up here, Flash Wolves, but AHQ, because of that protracted fight, is pretty much going to be even ultimates et al. And AHQ are the ones on the point.
The game-defining moments are turning into these real, small, millisecond moments where had Bacon Jack dropped that pulse bomb, could have been a double kill. You had a bunch of HQ,
1-for-1.
You had a bunch of HQ guys completely grouped up together. That would have been so good, but Crappy.
Here we go, big commit. This is an interesting position by HQ, but they do successfully retreat onto the point, and not a moment too soon. Sinclair needs to be the target here for AHQ if they want to really secure this one. Bacon Jack deep onto the point.
What?
Oh no! He kills himself as he kills Erican. A 1-for-1 is not good enough as AHQ commit their ultimates. They need to not overcommit, and they need to find Sinclair quick. Smarty's going to come in with the res. There's the big one. But Erican, he's going to try and come on back in with this Earthshatter if he can, but it's going to be a tall order as they've lost their other usable ultimate here in the Graviton Surge. They did not respect the res.
They should have been a lot more prepared for that one. I was going to say the Bacon Jack effect is so good he kills himself. Well, now he's alive again. I'll give you a moment. I'll give you a moment to catch your breath.
I'm back. Okay, how do AHQ fight this one back? Because actually, they've got an ultimate advantage. All they need to do really is...
Grab.
Big grab, pick Sinclair before he can get a res up.
Here's the thing. Flash Wolves don't actually have a lot to work with here. Self-destruct, that's going to be a little bit annoying. Sound barrier, again, that's going to be annoying. But a grab is going to do so much work here. Use it with a self-destruct, which is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Big kills.
He gets 2 for it. Yeah, that's a great setup. Bacon Jack trying to pull off the Bacon Jack effect. Laser Dayton out of the back. Got to get Sinclair. Got to get him fast. Sonic the Hedgehog, here we go, because if he gets that res, it's all over.
That works.
But Sinclair, if he gets the res, he's actually just going to go ahead back off with his team, and now he's got a res as AHQ's offense just falls flat.
Now they didn't get, I want to say the grab self-destruct combo, good opening,
but not enough.
As soon as it happened, look, the DPS is from Flash Wolves once again. Massive cleanup on their side.
How do you catch a Pharah in a grab, you know?
Well, you actually, it's a good question. You
pretty much don't. That's the thing.
I don't know. You kind of don't. That is a bit of a problem.
Now they're coming through this kind of higher side here.
Not against a good fairy.
They need to get Zonda out of the picture. Quick, smart, and Singler as well. There are a lot of targets that demand AHQ's attention, and they don't have ultimates to commit to it to get those targets out. Good positioning here as they're trying to assault onto this one, get themselves onto the point, and to their credit, it's working. K-Momo, Zonda.
No, that's a bad spot, Zonda.
Dizzy, he actually gets it. That was so aggressive, but it totally pays off. Oh, but Singler! Erica manages to catch it, even as the res goes off, and because of the sound barrier now, Flash Wolves, despite getting the res, I'm going to be able to strike back.
K4, K4?
K4, K4.
It's a K4 moment for sure.
Well, it is, but I mean, hey, they got the fight. They should have actually held that for a moment longer so they could secure this hold, but in any case, with the res being down, Zonda, despite being res, could not get his ultimate up again. Bacon Jack, what are you doing, man? You are no one-man army. AHQ,
I mean,
Flash Wolves not even contesting that last second one there because they couldn't get a toe onto the point, but AHQ just took a game off Flash Wolves.
I just want to say that Bacon Jack kind of is a one-man army, but he can only be that one-man army if his team is there to distract for him. It's kind of like you're the squishiest member in your team. If you're distracted, you're great. This is actually a pretty good moment.
Beautiful.
This is one of those moments where, going back to the Machi versus Flash Wolves game, it's Lee Jung Tao all over again, where, you know, it's one ultimate using DPS, taking out another ultimate using DPS, using that ultimate. That was a bit of a strange one to say, but that's essentially what it was. And those moments have huge impacts on the game.
They do. I would say the only difference is on Lee Jung between Machi and Flash Wolves, it did seem like those 1v1s were being sought out a little bit more. That one more just felt like, honestly, that high ground is the best position for a soldier with an Anubis and attack visor to be. So of course both were there. So naturally, Dizzy went Hunter Killer, took out his counterpart so that he could be the only soldier on that high ground. And that was just smart play. This was also when Flash Wolves were already on the back foot, positionally speaking. So I feel like the biggest difference between that match and watching Machi versus Flash Wolves on Lee Jung is this was two teams actually playing quite well, and AHQ was the better.
I think AHQ had some moments that were quite... the final moments of Village right at the end there, realistically, still could have gone either way, and I want to say that Flash Wolves right at the end had a much better situation set up for them to actually secure the game. Now they had the ultimates, they had Rocket Barrage, they had two more that I can't remember at the top of my head, but they were set up in a position where AHQ had, what was it, one ultimate, realistically no way to get in, still couldn't really deal with Zonda, didn't catch anyone. This is right after the failed Grav push. And Flash Wolves should have won that fight. They didn't. AHQ came in swinging. They chunked out Zonda. Zonda actually, he was flying outside.
Exactly.
Dizzy caught him.
He had to
go.
What
are you doing, Zonda?
Exactly. He had to go into retreat, which also pulled Sinkler back. That's a 4 versus 6 if Flash Wolves were to stay out there. So they had to retreat. AHQ, no hesitation, took the ground, got set back up. Then they forced Zonda off into a building. He is useless in a building. He's just as likely to kill himself as he is his enemy. Dizzy, again, no hesitation, took advantage, charged right in, took out Zonda. Then they went after Sinkler, got those two ultimates, which were the two biggest swinging ultimates at that moment, got them out of the picture. Then they were even in terms of ultimates. They were in a 4 versus 6. Sinkler barely got the res off before he went down. And even though Zonda came back, he again was just brought back in that same building where he was just as likely to kill himself. And at that point as well, AHQ were on the point. Same thing again. What's the Pharah going to do? If you open yourself up to ult that point, you are too exposed. If you kill a team, it's because you were lucky, because they were not paying attention. AHQ, they were all guns blazing. They were right onto it. They were in... I don't know, what's the word for it? They were in the zone. They were in the zone there. You weren't going to get the drop on AHQ right there and then.
Literally that was just zone because it's the cap.
Yeah, when all...
That's about as zone as
and this
you
thing,
can get.
because that was the situation, you know, Flash Wolves, they were actually favored for a lot of reasons coming into that. AHQ read the exact situation, the ultimates that were and weren't available, and went, and this is what we can do to win this fight, given that. They didn't just go, let's go for a normal fight and hope it works out, hope we can outfrag. They gave themselves everything they could to win it, and it went off without a hitch.
Absolutely. I think Flash Wolves as well, just the hiccups at the end, that's you can't afford to have those. You can't afford to have any hiccups, any mistakes right at those critical moments. When
not in this. Not when you just lost to Machi, and now you're playing against AHQ.
Realistically, again, I think it should have been Flash Wolves' room. They had those set up. They had the situation. They had the cap. They had the ults. They had everything going for them. However, their position poorly put themselves in. They put themselves in, you know, positions where they were going to get punished, and punish is exactly what happened. And Dizzy was probably everyone had their moments, but Dizzy really stepped up towards the end there. In fact, throughout the entire game,
absolutely,
particularly on Sanctum as well. And I would say Dizzy is looking like one of the best DPS, particularly one of the best hit scans of the entire tournament. And it really showed why. I mean, even right at the end, with Bacon Jack jumping in there, Dizzy just blew him up, just deleted him right off the map instantly, and no ult, no nothing.
Exactly, and like I said on that final movement by AHQ, I mean, I could break it down and talk about it for hours because it was actually so fascinating to watch. Yeah, let's break it down. It was so fascinating to watch because of how gorgeously it was executed and how back-footed Flash Wolves were. And like I said, there was no hesitation from Dizzy. And that was one of the key components because for Dizzy, his job was to deal with the Pharah in open ground. I mean, some would consider that as good as one better. Yeah, some would consider that as good as a coin flip, but that was Zonda with an ultimate, with a Mercy in the pocket, who had res. That is theoretically unwinnable. But in actuality, you can use the terrain. You can use the entire rest of your team. This is why Overwatch is a team game, right? Not just a shooter that happens to have 6 aside, right? It's because when you can execute things like that as a team, when you can execute well as a team, I suppose I should say, you can flip on paper unfavorable situations totally in your favor. And that's what AHQ did. And to kind of speak to the other side of that, you're right, again, on paper, Flash Wolves, should have won. They absolutely should have won. But unlike AHQ, they didn't set themselves up to have the best chance of winning. And actually, had they should have gone, okay, if AHQ were going to try and win, this is what they do.
They didn't secure it. They didn't execute whatever it was.
Whatever it was, but that's the thing. Like AHQ, it was pretty clear what they were going to do because they didn't have any other options available to them. That was their only way of winning the fight. And Flash Wolves should have gone, this is their only way of winning the fight. Let's set up for that. Because it kind of felt like it caught them by surprise.
Oh, yeah.
More than it should have.
I think it caught everybody by surprise. I think Dizzy was like, this is a stroke of luck for me.
And Flash Wolves are going to go back and look at that, and they're going to go, this shouldn't have caught us by surprise. Of course they were going to do that. So I don't think we're going to see Flash Wolves fall to that same thing twice later on in this tournament, but they fell to it now. And in terms of this matchup, that's what matters because this is Flash Wolves who have just lost a series. They do not want to lose another tonight.
That would be pretty devastating. At least against AHQ, it's a little bit more acceptable from the Flash Wolves camp. It's like, well, AHQ are a good team. Their team ranking-wise is right below them. If you do drop to AHQ, it's not a crazy upset. Sure. It's just like, wow, it was what it was. Now dropping to Machi, that is an upset. That's a big difference.
It is. I do agree. I agree and disagree with you in terms of losing to AHQ there. I mean, it is acceptable in that regard, but at the same time, it's more foreboding in terms of your ability to beat the other top teams in this tournament. You know, the other top 3, top 4 teams in this tournament, right? As much as losing to Machi is an upset and maybe, maybe a little bit scary, if you then go on to perform well against other top teams, you can write it off as a fluke. You could write it off as we made mistakes, like what happened with Blank Hong Kong Attitude. You know, they have perfectly valid reasons. They took away the things they should have from that, sure, but then they went on to win. Not just first of all win that series, but then actually win their other games in continually resounding fashion. So I think if they do lose this one here, Flash Wolves, that is even scarier. And their map pick is going to be Numbani.
And Numbani is a map that they've already kind of dropped down. Now, that first checkpoint, they struggled to get past. And make no mistake, AHQ are a team that is very, A, comfortable, and B, very likely to be running a sort of Torbjorn-esque kind of defense again. And they're well practiced in it. Crappy knows exactly what he's doing with that sort of composition. And if they struggled against it, if they struggled against Machi using that composition, I want to say it's possible, it's very likely they'll struggle against AHQ, who I still rate as a more dominant team than Machi, or at least a cleaner operating team than Machi.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really a disputable thing at this point. But the other thing that maybe needs to be considered is, having just lost that, maybe Flash Wolves have gone, oh, okay, this is why we lost it. And actually now feel confident.
You're right. That's true as well.
You know, they could have just figured out what went wrong and, you know, won't fall prey to the same mistakes. I mean, we'll find out, you know, make no mistake, we'll find out before too long.
It is also their pick, so I mean...
Yeah, exactly. They clearly have a reason. Excuse me.
I think this is a map where, like, I don't know if Flash Wolves are going to pick attack or defense, but if they pick attack, they're most likely to run Zonda on the Pharah. However, I would really want to see Zonda on the Genji, and for them to run a sort of Winston Diva Genji-esque kind of composition.
Yeah. Basically go back to something a little more dive oriented. It actually works well for Flash Wolves. I mean, I don't disagree with them trying to play these other team comps that a lot of teams consider to be more favorable in the meta right now, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with sticking with what works, provided it continues to work. I would like to at least see them run dive and have it fail before they really go onto all these other things.
Yeah,
but then, for all we know, it's been failing in script.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't where I want to see Flash Wolves necessarily experimenting, and they are going to go exactly what I said. It's going to be Zonda on the Genji with a Winston Diva sort of dive composition.
Yeah, I very much like this. And Realman on that Torbjorn played it well last time around, and already getting dealt with by Lazy Titan, but he does have to expose himself quite a lot. AHQ not really in a position to go for picks here. Actually, need to be careful. Lazy Titan out of the mech. If they don't get a kill right now, they should just back off.
Dizzy's set up though, so if he can sort of entrench here a little bit. Well, I like the pressure for Flash Wolves. They're not going to just give Dizzy the opportunity to set up camp on the sort of battlements section here. Like even Zonda, just applying pressure, this is really good, but they also need to be able to make sure Bacon Jack can actually have some sort of defense as well, because they're spending a lot of resources, a lot of players challenging Dizzy. At the same time, Bacon Jack is also being challenged.
Yeah, Bacon Jack needs space of his own, absolutely. But the kill onto Cowman, again, that should just signal AHQ backing off here. And like I said, unless they get kills of their own in response, basically now they should just go back off from this. And yeah, losing plus the man. This is the...
Zonda needed to back off though. Speaking of back off, he does that, man, and he needs to understand. Like I don't know what the dash in was for. Was he expecting to get a kill there? Because in a 1v2 where both of those players have a heal up, I don't think he was ever going to be able to get the kill. So yeah, overconfidence by Zonda does get punished. And it's not the first time, and hazard to say it probably won't be the last time.
But simply, yeah. AHQ, though, should be able to come into this with a good few resources that they can leverage. It's not an advantage out and out, but it is a lot.
That could be something they can work with, though. I mean, the early kill from Bacon Jack does now set up a sort of dive positioning for Flash Wolves to work with. And smartly, AHQ are just going to back out of that one. They don't want to take another fight where they're disadvantaged. This is the kind of discipline I like to see out of HQ. They're not feeding additional ults to Flash Wolves. They're not committing ults into a losing fight. They understand we're not favored here. Go back into a fight where you are more favored. The biggest thing for HQ is they need to secure their side of the battlements while simultaneously challenging Flash Wolves' side of the battlements while actually denying the turret. So there's a lot of work to be done for AHQ.
Getting this turret absolutely destroyed. They're trying to kettle Flash Wolves into this corridor here, but losing Dizzy and Karis. Yeah, they're the ones who have committed more ultimates. They maybe should have drawn a few more out of Flash Wolves first. They're kind of struggling here and going to have to go into retreat having committed a ton of resources.
Alman's outplay onto Zonda, though, was pretty impressive. Not a lot of things impress me anymore in this game, but that was impressive. I like that. However, sad thing for HQ is they're getting these small victories here and there, but ultimately the bigger picture, they're not able to break through Flash Wolves' hold. Realmint now just resetting up anywhere he wants to, throwing armor packs around. Still has a molten core. They got to get past the molten core because a level 3 turret, AHQ are not set up to beat that.
Not really, not at all, in fact. And HQ, again, they have a couple of ultimates, but, I mean, what are they really going to do? They kind of have to sit Lazy Titan in the turret's face. They are setting themselves up onto this point. They're going to force Flash Wolves to come to them, as already Zonda opening up has found one, Bacon Jack finding one for himself as well. They've forced the sound barrier out of AHQ. Again, a kind of half commit out of AHQ here, and they're just keeping the ult disadvantage going for themselves.
The thing is, Flash Wolves no longer have a win condition in terms of ult, but what they do have is they have a lot of stall potential. So now AHQ, while the ball is in their court and they should be able to win this fight due to pure damage output, Flash Wolves, even if they get wiped here, Jongi can Primal Rage, K-Mama can self-destruct, they can buy so much time that once again for the defenders, they can just come back with a defensive, like, walk-back distance. It's so good for them.
Dizzy's going to try and get right onto this one, leaving a sleeping Winston behind him, but there's only going to buy him a few seconds.
Oh,
here comes
what?
the commit, that's huge! Out of nowhere, Lazy Titan. Flash Wolves maybe felt they already had it in the bag, and, well, they certainly did not. Zonda trading a couple back, though.
Nice little knockback from Jongi as well. Jongi just managed to Primal Rage, punch Cowman back, and no, you're not even going to touch this point now.
That was super quick. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Both parts of that. Okay, good reaction by Flash Wolves, absolutely, to still save it despite what would normally be a crippling opener out of HQ.
Like I said, HQ had the tools to get the damage done. Now, these Titan had to absolutely pull 3 kills out of nowhere, completely out of the hat, but despite all that, I did mention, like, Flash Wolves have all the stalling tools available for them, including a Primal Rage. Had Kalman actually reached a point and stalled it out for his own team into overtime, I still believe Flash Wolves had, with the respawn distance advantage, will have the ability to get back on and reinforce a lot quicker. So at the end of the day, Flash Wolves set themselves up for a position where they can win, similar to Nepal Village right at the end. Set themselves up for a position where they should have won. This time they actually did win. They executed what they needed to execute.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that was actually quite significant out of them, because we were just saying probably the reason they picked it, and we said this conjecturally, probably the reason they picked it is because they feel they fixed up whatever went wrong against Matchy. I feel like that proves that. So now the question is, what can AHQ actually do on this defense? Because it's going to be a very tight...
They're going to repeat the same composition,
but it's going to be a very, very tight defense.
It is. They're going to need it. They absolutely need to go for the full hold. I think AHQ are well practiced on the Numbani defense as well, particularly with the Torbjorn setups. They absolutely know how to play that. But as we've been shown, Flash Wolves equally, if not better, know how to play it. So you got to hazard to think Flash Wolves also know the counters. They should understand the counters. And for the second time tonight, is Bacon Jack actually doing this, or is this just some sort of troll pick?
Is this a thing? This time it is a thing.
It's
He's actually out the gate with it. So this is their curveball.
Okay,
because
so the curveball is, this is how you beat Torbjorn. You run the Orisa, maybe you throw the shield right on top of the turret, who knows?
Well, and they feel like they only need to get one cheeky, cheesy fight. Maybe just want to take HQ by surprise. K-Mama getting picked off at the top of this one, though. Should mean that this won't quite work out. At the very least, they need to back off.
Actually, I kind of like that. You can sort of walk through the choke with Fortify. Use your Halt to pull all the defenders off of the battlements and onto the ground. The problem with that is you're pulling off a Winston and D.Va who can just fly back up, so not super useful. Also, the Halt gets eaten up by the Matrix as well, so it is difficult. And the triple tank lineup from AHQ, this is vastly different. Now, not vastly, but it's very different to what Flash Wolves are running.
That's a quick commit here, just trying to get themselves into a favorable position where the Orisa can maybe do a little bit more, but Realman already getting picked off as they went.
Yeah,
now they're stuck.
They will all die here.
In that movement, they got picked off as they went. They weren't quick enough, and yeah, all gonna die.
So the strategy there is you run through into the HQ and rotate up the stairs and around the sort of back battlements, and you sort of swap sides with the defenders, and then you, in a way, become then the defenders. However, Flash Wolves were, AHQ was so quick to respond to that, completely routed out Flash Wolves, prevented them from getting the position they wanted. Now another early hook on the Zondra. Flash Wolves got to reposition again. They're still struggling to break out of the choke. Fortify being used to no avail.
Exactly. What can they really do to get through? This is a nano boost now onto the Winston. Very classic for these teams with that dive on. But actually, the Biotic Grenade is going to keep Bacon Jack alive for now. They're still not quite getting the picks. They have got two. Getting Lazy Titan would be big here, but he can just throw out a last ditch. Eric can going to commit his ultimate as well, maybe a little bit deep. This time, actually, Bacon Jack is kind of getting the mileage here. Needs to back off away from this D.Va. Wasn't able to get the barrier in the right position. And now he's a little bit isolated. Yeah, this is actually giving HQ a lot of time to regroup and get some members back onto the point. Bacon Jack is trying to sort of keep the team set up on this high ground, but AHQ, they're still doing all right enough. Now set on the point, though, is Flash Wolves, and AHQ are going to have their hand forced.
Well, they don't need to force too much, because Flash Wolves, they're unfortunately losing enough members that they have to back off once more. They've saved up a decent amount of ult. Attack-wise from Dizzy is going to do a K4. Nothing will be found out of this. I like that that's just synonymous for a useless tank visor now.
Look at the amount of ultimates Flash Wolves have set up for them, though. And one of the key ones there, if they're able to do what they just did, Bacon Jack sat on that high ground for a very long time. If they're able to get the ultimate from Orisa set up there, that's actually a point where they can just sit and fight.
They need to get past this choke, though. Look, it's straight into the whole hog, which is going to prevent this entire push.
Forced out the sound barrier. The tack visor was also committed to no effect here. Zonda really the only one left alive off that one, and they just lost all of the ultimates they had banked up.
All counted by 1 nano to hold hog, and that is still 2 ultimates, but 2 ultimates now at 43 seconds, which completely counted out a push from Flash Wolves, who, by the way, also committed 3 ultimates. That's a very positive trade.
It actually is, but still K-Momo and Bacon Jack have to get a lot of mileage. They're already trying to do this one again here. Cowman with this defense, this time not going to work out. He is on full retreat. Oh no! K-Momo, one of their only ultimates in Zonda, despite the damage boost, is picked off. They've only got a few seconds for this one, and Bacon Jack's out as well. AHQ, no hesitation, all aggression, and Jongi is a man alone by this one. He knows it's all over Rover. All he is left to do is spray, and with 10 seconds left, short of a miracle, Flash Wolves have lost this.
They still got to grab. They got 5 seconds. If they can keep it going, get K-Momo.
Someone's got to touch that point. It's Jongi.
Could be a miracle.
Oh, but they lost Zonda and Realment as Jongi went charging in. And the grab only gets Cowman. Actually, Crappy just kind of goes in. He feels bad that it caught so few. Sigler getting picked off. That's the secure. We said it had to be a tighter defense for AHQ, and it was.
Well, it's an equal defense.
No, that was not. That was beautiful.
Okay, yeah, it was a tight turd defense, but result-wise, the same result at the end of the day. And HQ, look, they're pretty happy about that, and not surprised either. The problem I had was not so much, while I do want to commend AHQ for a tight defense, I want to say for Flash Wolves, you're trying experimental stuff out again, and it's not working.
Yeah.
You gotta stop with this.
Yeah, why do that when you are 1 series down for the night and 1 game down already in this second best of 5? Why pull it out here? Because it lost. I mean, maybe they just felt that they only needed to get such a small amount of point cap that they could do it anyway, but that's hubris, man.
I want to say, like, what they were trying to achieve, realistically, they're trying to do... It's almost like the Bastion strat where you force open the battlements on the left side attacker's perspective. You set up the Bastion, you rain death upon your enemies from the high ground. Cool. They want to do that with the Orisa, with the turbocharger or the supercharger ultimate, whatever it's actually called. I've not seen enough Orisa to even realistically remember the name because it's so rare.
You had everything else down pat though, like
had
Fortify, Halt, Barrel, like, all right.
But the ultimate one?
What even is that? The bongo drum.
When you want to use the drums of endurance to get back out in there. Look, they used the Fortify, they tried to break through. Now, AHQ, by pure fluke or whatever it is, they had the exact correct composition, I want to say, to deal with what Flash Wolves were trying to run. Now, Flash Wolves were adamant that what they were going to do was going to eventually work. Didn't work out for them. Triple tank with a hog. That composition for Flash Wolves was not going to break through 3 tanks. It just didn't. It couldn't break through 3 tanks. Now, if they had run into what Flash Wolves were doing on defense themselves with the Genji and, with the double dive and all of that kind of business, yeah, maybe it could have worked. You don't have 3 tanks blocking your way in. I can sort of see that working out. So for Flash Wolves, when they realized, look, this composition is not favored against this defense anymore, should have changed up. They didn't change up. They were adamant it was going to work, got punished, and unfortunately, the punishment this time around is you got full health.
Yeah, now maybe this is something that has worked for them in scrims. Like, they clearly have a reason.
Yeah.
Because this isn't at all the first time they pulled out Orisa on Numbani attack specifically, and the first time they pulled it out, it didn't work, and they swapped off it just like that. It almost wasn't even in the game. Second time we saw it, actually it worked. This time around, they committed to it and it didn't work. So I don't know what to say about the Orisa just yet, but
because the second time it worked, but they didn't pull off the strat. It worked because it just worked generically.
It worked because the rest of the team was good enough.
It worked because everybody just got the kills and did the damage anyway. Look, they want to do the full set. They want to get the tank visor, the nano boost, the supercharger, have like a soldier doing 3 times damage, or the math is not correct on that one, but you get the point, you get the gist. Super damage on the soldier. Yeah, massive overkill sounds great. They didn't even need that the second time they brought out the Orisa strat. It just worked, and they could have put anybody else in Orisa's place and it would have still worked. So
Yeah.
realistically,
No,
in
that's
my
fair.
books, they haven't succeeded with the strat and actually executed it one time. They have not done that.
I mean, I feel like it should be kind of obvious as well. Like, I guess, sure, she hasn't quite been figured out yet in terms of how she's getting fit into the game, but it's pretty obvious, right? In terms of design,
it's actually the
hear me
same
out.
job, but better.
It's pretty obvious in terms of design. Orisa is meant to be a defensive tank. Her kit is decked with peel. And when you do finally draw a line in the sand and go, this is where we're going to fight, that's what the ultimate's for. Like, that seems obvious from looking at a kit. Now, granted, what seems obvious looking at a kit and how it can then also be used are two quite different things often, but I'm surprised that the only Orisa we're seeing is on attack and we're seeing none at all on defense. So either, and like, I'm not, this is very kind of up in the air, right? Like, either Blizzard have just totally missed the mark somehow on what this is intended to do and what it can actually do, which may be the case, or no one's really cracked this hero yet. No one's really trying it in the right way. And I think it will happen eventually. I mean, look at how long it took for Ana to be picked up. And then once she was suddenly must pick because people kind of figured it out, right? But I feel like Flash Wolves, even if this strategy works, I don't think this is the best use of Orisa anyway. I would rather, like you said, even just go for a Bastion if nothing else, or just take something more conventional.
Absolutely. I think, for Flash Wolves, I said this is experiment versus Machi because you think you're the better team. I can see an argument for that. Even though you're still a loss, experiment against AHQ, now that's just risky. That's unnecessary. Like, I don't think you do that. I don't think you go there anymore. No. And I think we go to a golden cap now. I think we go to a golden control point because it is a full-on tie. If I'm not mistaken. There must be a tiebreaker.
Unless they are counting it by percentage points. Well, we'll find out. No. We'll find out soon enough.
Actually, you're right. Maybe. Yeah, it was off percentage.
Actually, it is off percentage.
You're right.
So that's just a flat 2-0.
It's a flat 2-0.
Well,
Look at that.
Yeah, that was what I'd thought as well. But in any case, this is a really...
I'm working on a previous patch. Don't mind me.
Don't mind me over here.
I'm still in tournament round. Don't mind me.
So this is a really interesting position for Flash Wolves because they're a series down in the night. They're now 2-0 down. The best case scenario for them is they reverse sweep AHQ. That's the best case scenario.
I see two best of
now,
fives.
Rip my bedtime.
Is that happening?
So here's the thing, right? They are 7 games deep, having suffered functionally nothing but losses because those first 5 games were actually just one big loss. And now this is 2 losses. Mentally, this is the lowest point Flash Wolves have been yet in this tournament. They have not had to face a position this close and this dire and this tough. I'm really curious to see if they can actually turn it around because this is what makes or breaks teams. And we're going to find out if Flash Wolves will be made or broken right after this break. All right, thank you for sticking with us through that quick break. And of course, welcome back once again, perhaps the last time today, to the official English language broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. If you are just joining us, well, there may not be much left as Flash Wolves currently sat 0-2 down against fellow Taiwanese squad AHQ Esports Club, having previously also lost to another Taiwanese team earlier tonight, Machi Esports, and went to a full 5th game, but this one maybe not looking to go quite so far for Flash Wolves, and that's pretty alarming stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to go to Assault, which is arguably still Flash Wolves' most favored map pick or map type. And it is alarming because the last time these two teams matched up, it was 3-0 in Flash Wolves' favor. So for AHQ to be 2-up already, we couldn't see a 4-3-0 from AHQ, which would just be a total 180. I don't think that's something that should happen. I mean, that's totally unexpected.
Well, and as much as Assault is maybe Flash Wolves' favored, they did actually just lose Assault to Machi.
It's true.
So the other thing that's kind of happening here is, I mean, we talked about this a bit at the time, but the series against Machi, I mean, let's be frank, it felt a bit sloppy from both teams, and you can maybe chalk part of it. I mean, Machi did look good, looked better than they have so far this tournament, but Flash Wolves looked a bit sloppy, and Machi were also still making mistakes. So maybe you can chalk that up to Flash Wolves' mistakes. This series, though, I wouldn't even say Flash Wolves are playing badly. They're actually playing better than they were against Matchy.
It's close.
But it's actually just not good enough.
I think what you said earlier on in the evening, which is Flash Wolves play to the strength of their opponents, and I believe that is currently happening.
Yeah.
However, the strength of their opponent is now on a new level. I would say AHQ look better than they have been so far throughout the tournament. I think I can safely say that. And Flash Wolves,
for sure,
while they're playing better, they're playing like they're playing in week 1 against HQ, but HQ are now playing like they are today.
They're playing week 2.
You know?
Oh, I guess week 4. Round robin 2. But the other thing as well is, I mean, they play to the strength of the opponent, sure, but up until now, they played to the strength of the opponent and then a little bit more, and they were winning. And now it's to the strength of their opponent, but a little bit less,
and not enough,
and they're losing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a very, very simplified way of looking at it, sure, but that does seem to be functionally what is happening, given that up until now, the only team they'd lost to had actually been Blank, and they were, if I'm not mistaken, the first team to actually take Blank past 3 games.
I think, no, AHQ
were
AHQ? First, yeah.
I think it was in the same night, so that was back-to-back.
Yes.
But that is still significant as it is, you know, being able to take Blank to that 3rd game, right? Yeah. And that was also on Assault, which was somewhere, like we say, Flash Wolves definitely favored. But the fact that AHQ also did that means that maybe tonight this is going to be a bit of a different story, and it is going to be played out on Temple of Anubis. So what do we feel about this map?
Again, where I'm seeing success from Flash Wolves is when they're running Zonda back on the Genji. Run Bacon Jack on, I would say, either Soldier or Tracer. He's been pretty solid on both tonight. To be honest, I think his Diva's actually been okay as well, but I haven't really been feeling the triple tank from Flash Wolves tonight. I've definitely been feeling the 2-2-2. I think the 2-2-2 is where they've been realistically the most successful. Their triple DPS still needs a lot of work, and I don't think it's very consistent at all. So if Flash Wolves continue to just run 2-2-2, no experimentation with compositions, no experimentation with lineups, play everything super safe, they got a good, I would say they're still expected to win Assault here. Yeah. As both the Flash Wolves that is somewhere near the top of the leaderboard, and also the Flash Wolves with the best record on Assault. I would say if they play safe, they should be expected to win.
I think the only thing that has to be taken into consideration here, though, is they did just lose on Numbani, where both of the entire halves of that, played on the first point. And
yeah,
for better or for worse, that first point of Numbani is kind of similar to a second point on Assault. And if anything, the second point on Assault is even more defender favored. So that does maybe suggest that both of these teams are going to full hold on the second point. And if we extrapolate even further, it would maybe suggest that AHQ are going to do that better than Flash Wolves here, if Numbani is anything to go off. Not that Numbani is even an Assault map, mind you, but that is, I guess, our most relevant information.
I think whichever team gets the best momentum going from Cap 1 to Cap 2 is going to make a lot of difference. Now, if we're going to assume both teams will make a full hold, then we're going to assume that the game will be decided based on cap percentage. Now, if cap percentage is what's going to be the determining factor for the winner, then the team that has the better snowball and the better momentum carryover from cap 1 to cap 2 is going to have a really big leg up in terms of that cap percentage, and that's going to be important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it is going to be AHQ opting into the defense first. K-Momo. This is interesting. Going to come out on the Widowmaker.
This is triple DPS. Yeah. But it is K-Momo on something different. And well, there it is. Wow. That's something. That is definitely something.
That's more than something. That's the 1 DPS. Well, actually, sorry, 2 DPS. So this is 2-2-2. And now they're going to pick off Cowman. That's the other one. K-Momo finally going to get
now it's just 2-2.
Yeah, it's just 2-2. I mean, look, he finally got forced off the high ground by Cowman. But they're kind of not following this one up here, actually, Flash Wolves.
They need a lot more aggression. Flash Wolves.
Now they're starting to push into this point, but they've kind of taken their time here. HQ just kind of went, ooh, will you watch out there? We've got something up our sleeve, when really nothing was there.
And here's the thing, playing safe doesn't mean playing slow. So Flash Wolves, they need positioning here. They need to convert more kills, and Bacon Jack's doing that. In fact, they're all doing it. Now we can start to see a snowball. You've already got the
You
got the Infra site out. I think that's a mistake. You want to save the Infra site for Cap 2. They're going to need every single ult they can get. So no more ults from Flash Wolves now. Please, no one else use any ult until they actually commit to the second push.
And then Bacon Jack just throws out a false bomb. That was the Bacon Jack effect, though, in full force right there. I do agree, yeah, K-Momo did not need to commit the Infra site at all, but what's done is done, and they are in a decent position
to snowball this next
point because AHQ have swapped, and Bacon Jack does have an ult he can pick someone off with.
I like the swap from Dizzy as well. This is going to make it easier to pick up both Zonda and Bacon Jack, or at least challenge them. K-Momo at this point doesn't really need to be challenged. Where are the ultimates from Flash Wolves? I think they're waiting for the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, speaking of challenge, Lazy Titan went up to challenge K-Momo and
this is so winnable. They need to go.
Erican, he did just have a nano boost on him that's now run out, but yeah, they need to go right now. Erican, he hasn't got that on him anymore, but he's just disrupting the back line. They haven't really committed. Now they're finally going in for it with that Transcendence, just to try and back up whoever is already on the point. But they're not getting much for it, and Flash Wolves are now going to commit a sound barrier as well. There we go, finally picking Erican after him getting nothing. They need to get a ton of picks so to start securing it. That's very, very big Dizzy as well. Lazy Titan looks set to go out.
Wow, okay, that's a shot.
That was beautiful. Right out of K-Momo there. No hesitation on those ones. And now well set up to catch these respawns as they come on in. That was actually
These are all trickles, and they're getting more ults. Look at the ultimates coming back alive for Flash Wolves. They're in such a great position. I expect them to cap.
This is perfect for K-Momo as well. No one can actually contest him here because they're all busy trickling out. And now he's going to see who's coming out of what side. It can be even more set up for him. Zonda going so deep to stop anyone from coming out. Even though he gets put to sleep, he's still keeping Keras stuck there. The rest of AHQ can't get out onto this point. They're going to trickle in, they're going to feed ult charge, and even if they do finally get all members out, Flash Wolves are going to have ult
Transcendence again.
Yeah, once again. K-Momo did actually die there, so he's going to be able to come back into this fight now as Soldier, which is maybe a little bit better for this ground game. They're kind of struggling to get these last couple of kills against AHQ here, just because AHQ have gone for as much tankiness as possible.
That was a really average sound barrier. He didn't get very many members with that at all.
This may just be enough for them to close it out here as they commit the ultimate out of Jongi, getting Erican. This is still a little bit tight, but it's still Flash Wolves' favor just barely.
Another
if
Dragon
AHQ
Blade?
step off
Another
the
Dragon
point for a
Blade?
moment.
They're so close. They just need to get a few more kills. The ultimates are rotating so quickly for Flash Wolves now.
There we go.
Finally gets the cap, and like I said, Snowball is all they needed. The momentum. Flash Wolves got to feel pretty confident about that now. For a matchup that we both said, but particularly you said, I'm not putting this on you, but you know, both teams are likely to hold second. I want to say that's still true. Obviously, AHQ, that was a unique situation because Flash Wolves, while there have been some sort of, I want to say, inefficiencies in their ability to take advantage of situations, they absolutely carry the momentum through the second cap anyway, and they got the cap. Now, that's not something we expected them to fully be able to get through. I expected, as a likely result, maybe they get 2/3 of the cap, get to the second milestone, land on something like 70%, 75% total cap, finish the game there, and maybe just look to hold that out in their own defense. Now you're looking at a position where Flash Wolves are very likely to win because, like we said, like you said, expected to hold the second cap.
AHQ, exactly, they have to cap. Now, also what often happens, so often in fact, the entire tournament so far, that snowball tends to fall short. Not for lack of trying, and it tends to get pretty close, but as time goes by, eventually the defender's advantage does kind of start to stack up and overwhelm you. But to Flash Wolves' credit, right, where a lot of teams go wrong when that defender's advantage starts to overcome them is they just lose one or two members at unfortunate moments, and even if it's only one or two and you've killed off 4, those 4 all respawn, your 2 have a much longer walk back. Yeah, only one person went down there for Flash Wolves, and it was K-Momo. And the rest of the team was getting topped off enough health-wise that they were still fine. And that is how you do it. So other teams who have struggled to snowball should absolutely take notes from what Flash Wolves did.
The other thing is AHQ, they swapped off compositions, which prevented them from getting the charge of the ults. You saw Flash Wolves had this really amazing ult rotation because they kept the same lineups, they kept the ults going for a long time. AHQ, they didn't have that. Compositional changes meant any sort of comeback mechanic, which would have been eventually charging up the ultimates, was lost on them. Now it's their turn to attack, and like we said, there's a lot of weight on them to actually get this done.
Yeah, but be ready to see AHQ's very quick, very decisive aggression, and already looking to get whatever pick they can to force Flash Wolves back to this kind of second layer of the defense, if you will, and now they're going to push
like
into
the
that.
composition with Flash Wolves. This is definitely the composition I wanted to see. This is literally their best composition.
Yeah, so far. And like we say often, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No. AHQ, they are going to get a good one onto Bacon Jack, though, so the Bacon Jack show is over for now. Maybe get a renewal later on down the line. And now picking Jongi should mean they get onto this point. Yeah, now they're just going to start rolling over. This decisive aggression, they will get the point cap. The question is, can they then get the snowball?
Well, AHQ need to hold on to their ults here. They have to be very reserved. They have to be disciplined, not give away any ults. For Flash Wolves, I actually want them to try. Oh, it depends if they have enough time, but if they have members available, they could try and recontest this first cap, not to actually defend it fully, but just to try and bait out ults, because Flash Wolves are in a position now, they're sitting on 0 ults against a possible 5 going on to 6 ults. They need to bait out as much as possible, and AHQ actually in a decent position to get a snowball advantage of their own.
AHQ had actually totally sounded out this defense. Lazy Titan, barely forced out of the mech. That was so close that had he got that self-destruct, he could have thrown that onto the point. But instead, like you said, they've lost 2 ults. Eric can get
another one.
They had actually totally spotted out Flash Wolves and didn't quite react to it. That's heartbreaking because that is the snowball opportunity pretty much gone.
Look at that, 6 ults for Flash Wolves. AHQ had 1 shot to get that done. Jump in, dive immediately. Kill off Flash Wolves members to prevent them from charging ults of their own. Now, what I liked about Flash Wolves is they didn't just dive, they didn't just change up their composition, they kept the compositions. Now they're in a position where they absolutely can defend. Look at this contest now.
They've lost Dizzy already off the top of this one. They're going to lose Crappy as well. So far, though, they haven't actually committed ultimates, which is very smart. They haven't drawn many out of Flash Wolves either. It's only been Sinklers, but that's kind of enough. Kalman's going to get his ultimate charged up, and in a strange way, they do now have ultimate advantage. I don't think it's enough to overcome the defender's advantage, but that's something that AHQ could maybe leverage.
AHQ need to... This is no longer a game where I believe AHQ can get a cap out on a single push. This is now a game where AHQ are going to need multiple pushes, where they reach a new cap milestone every time and they just push for percentage until they can get to a push right at the end where they're on 2/3 milestone and then cap it out in 1 push. They got 5 minutes to do that, 6 ultimates to work with. This has to be a push where they can get at least 2 out of the 3 milestones.
And they have to remember, they don't have to cap faster than Flash Wolves. They just need to cap.
Exactly.
Well, that's one way to start it off. Double pulse bomb, 2 kills. But it's AHQ. Oh, the sound barrier committed. Too late to save Cowman. Realman's going to commit his own just to keep his team nice and safe through AHQ's own sound barrier. Erican's going to force his ultimate to keep himself alive. I don't know if I agree with that because Flash Wolves are holding on to theirs and AHQ don't have a position to keep this one going.
I would have preferred dying there.
We see that a lot from Winston's. They ult to save themselves.
But not in a position where then that ult translates to an objective victory or further kills or something or extra ult charge for your team. All that. Well, okay, here we go. He actually changed.
Okay, he's changed off. That's a lot more acceptable. But he gave himself a ton more health that Flash Wolves could get ult charge off of.
Yeah, he could have also died, which would have wasted more time. So I kind of like this route a little bit better. So that's kind of okay.
Alright, well, already this fight off to a very messy start, but it's actually HQ.
Zonda down's good for them.
They just absorbed 3 ultimates, essentially, if Jongi finds nothing here. He is going to get carries, actually, which is key. That is the nano boost out of the picture, and K-Momo set up in a nice spot here, but HQ can still get a lot of mileage out of this. At the very least, get that first third of the point like we were talking about before, and Dizzy this time has stayed alive, crucially, holding onto the tactical visor in case he wants to commit it later, but they aren't actually getting the kills onto Flash Wolves, and now Flash Wolves swing back.
Really reserved to be able to save a decent amount of ults there as well. They can actually stagger Lazy Titan now. And unfortunately for AHQ, look how much cap they got. Absolutely nothing for, what was it, 4 ultimates spent out of 6? If all you got, no, in fact, it was 3 because Eric swapped off, but still. If you spent a bunch of ultimates, committed onto a fight, and got 0 progress off it, I said they needed to get about 2/3 milestone. They didn't get anything. They got 0%.
Actually, Carmen swapped as well. The only thing they threw out...
That's true, okay. Well,
I'm not even sure if Lazy Titan threw out the self-destruct.
They're losing even more, though. They're actually changing compositions before they're committing ultimates, which means they're getting negative mileage out of ultimates if that's possible.
They're losing the chance to secure those thirds. Yeah, you're completely right. Oh, what a sticky bomb as well. Just eliminates the grav before it's even available. AHQ, they need to just back off. And even then, Flash Wolves are pumping shots into the back end of them. They're securing kills. They're getting ult charge. And then AHQ have to bait out ultimates before they can even think about capping a third, let alone a whole point.
Not that long ago, I said we got about 5 minutes, or rather AHQ got about 5 minutes.
It's probably about 3 minutes ago, actually.
In 5 minutes, they need to be able to get a full cap out. Now, it takes in 2.5 minutes. They should already be working with at least 1/3 milestone, if not 2/3 milestone. They got nothing to work with, and there are 2 minutes 20 left to go. They need at least 2 good pushes here. I don't expect them to get a full cap off 1 push. Not against the Flash Wolf side with 4 ultimates, going on to about 5 ultimates here.
Here's the commit gambit. Quite route them and kettle them in this room, but they have every opportunity to catch them now. Oh, but this is clever. Going to try and throw a Graviton as the team comes into collapse. Yeah, really good Earth Shatter, but it doesn't actually get any kind of follow-up here. And this is just too sloppy from both teams. And this will eventually favor Flash Wolves. Even if AHQ get more kills, the respawn advantage is there. The ultimate advantage is there. The best they get out of this is a third, as already the force back for a moment. Oh, I don't even think they can actually contest onto this one. Dizzy is forced back from the point. There's no follow-up for anyone who is on that. And once again, without even getting a third, having used all their resources, AHQ are sent packing.
Yeah, and I don't want to call it soon, but 1 minute 30 left to go. No ultimates for AHQ. Swapping more heroes, swapping compositions again. They're not going to have time. They need at least 1 push just to charge ultimates. Then they need a second push using the ultimates to get a milestone. Guess what? You don't have enough time left to get the full cap out. A milestone isn't going to be enough here. You need a full cap. Yeah, 1 minute 10? No way.
Looking at an overtime miracle, if that, out of AHQ, or this could be Flash Wolf starting to turn it back around. AHQ now onto the point, trying to get in as quickly as they can. And here's going to be the response now for Flash Wolves. They push them back into this room. Actually, good response here. They force Lazy Titan out of the mech as they are actually able to get it back in. Here we go. Let's see if they can get anything out of the space they've created. Jongi forced the ultimate here and actually in a bit of trouble. Going to be able to get topped off though as Lazy Titan's getting forced out. Tac Visor is available, but they have to back off. Kara's picked off. That could be all it needs to tip the balance here. And with only 30 seconds left, if AHQ lose now, they lose the opportunity to fight again. They're going to try and retreat, but they're all getting picked off as they go. Dizzy's only got 5 health. He needs to get out of there.
He needs to get out. He actually needs to be able to use ultimate. Flash Wolves are chasing kills. 20 seconds left to go. Flash Wolves still at least even an ultimate. AHQ, they finally got everything they need in terms of ultimates. I said they need a fight just to charge. They got their fight. Now we're into the overtime, 9 seconds.
They've got I don't even know Lazy Titan. Lazy Titan's gone past the whole team. Flash Wolves are busy fighting here. Lazy Titan's going to gun for the point, and this is going to draw Flash Wolves back if nothing else. They've already picked off Zonda here, AHQ. This is really, really cheeky, and there is still one person sat on the point. Here we go. They've moved back for the contest now as Dizzy's booking it for the point. This could be what they need, because now Flash Wolves, they're the ones responding. They picked up the healer. Have they done it? Have AHQ just completely bamboozled Flash Wolves? They've drew them out. It was as clever as you could get here. They're trying to force Zonda around the side. It works. I don't believe it. They're now trying to get set up as best they can.
No team has ultimate.
Yeah, Lazy Titan's down though. Lazy Titan, he didn't actually have the mech, so it's not too big a deal, but the respawn advantage can be significant. If they set off this one though for too long, the overtime's going to disappear so fast. AHQ, they cannot give an inch, and Flash Wolves, they are the ones with all the gas in the tank here, as AHQ now starting to get picked off. One person left on the point. If they step off, that is all over, and they're not actually getting the kills. How long until the respawn advantage overcomes this?
Right now. That's how long.
Well, there we go. Flash Wolves, much needed at the 11th hour. They do swing back. AHQ nearly at the last minute there, but even then it was a tough ask. Can they now do it 2 more times?
You mentioned AHQ needed an overtime miracle. I think they got given the overtime miracle, but even an overtime miracle wasn't enough at the end of the day. Like you said, that would have been a different story had in the first 2.5 minutes, at the 5-minute mark, using the first 2.5 minutes, if they had secured at least a 1/3 milestone, if not a 2/3 milestone, then you go back into that same overtime situation, that would have been a full cap out.
Yeah, it would have done it, exactly.
But where AHQ messed up, they didn't get enough mileage within the first 2.5 minutes at all. That cost them the entire game. That first 2.5 minutes of nothing getting done, particularly the first push where they had the snowball advantage, Flash Wolves had no defense, they had no ultimates. HQ had everything to work with. They had everything and they lost everything. And then that 2.5 minutes just sort of snowballed in Flash Wolves' favor. That's it. That lost them the game right then and there. Nothing else past that. Everything else past that was just a setup by Flash Wolves, putting themselves in a situation where they were always going to win. Now, Flash Wolves made a critical error right at the end. They went for the chase. Lazy Titan got past them. That might have cost them the game in another situation where HQ had a better start.
Now, I don't disagree with the move out of Flash Wolves,
no,
but it was a little greedy. Like, it was more risky than they really needed.
It's like fountain diving.
Yeah, exactly. They could have actually just hung back on the point and still won it, and they would have won it without any risk, right? I mean, they were the ones who allowed HQ the opportunity to get an overtime miracle. Otherwise, they would have needed even more of a miracle, right?
Yeah.
So, bit of an odd situation to put themselves in, though I can at least see the reasoning. In any case, they won. That's what's important. And they did win pretty convincingly, right? They capped really, really well with like 4 minutes in the bank. If it went to overtime, AHQ didn't cap at all. They didn't even get a third. And also, it's no longer your birthday in Australia. I'm sorry.
In Taiwan, though, we're still doing good.
Yeah,
Western Australia, you're wrong, because Western Australia,
is it?
we're still going hard.
Oh, do they have like is that the one with the half hour?
No, that's South Australia.
It's like, so they're like
WA.
Wait, they're a full 4 hours?
Yeah, WA is on the same time zone as Taiwan. So when Gumba moved to Taiwan, he didn't change time zones whatsoever.
Wow. Well, there you go.
It worked out pretty well for him.
You got 45 minutes of birthday. Enjoy it while it lasts. And that may be just enough time, actually, for one more. So if there is a chance that AHQ could beat Flash Wolves on your birthday, but maybe all Flash Wolves need to do is outlast your birthday.
Great day for me, not a good day for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, or maybe this is the AVRL birthday curse. Flash Wolves can't win on your birthday.
Well, at least it's only once a year that Flash Wolves is going to fail.
They just need to not play. They need to play as little Overwatch as possible on that day.
Yeah.
So
today can't be like a world final for Flash Wolves.
No, definitely not. Good thing it's not. But what it will be, I don't believe it. We're going to Watchpoint Gibraltar.
On
Flash Wolves pick. Yeah. Can you say Clown Fiesta?
I can say that this should be a tighter game because
it better be.
AHQ are going to play a tighter game on their end, which is going to then force Flash Wolves to also play a tighter game because Flash Wolves Temple of Anubis, I want to say solid. I want to say for the entire mess that was Flash Wolves versus Machi, Temple of Anubis really brought it back, really grounded them again, and showed me a side that absolutely identifies how they can win the game and how they prevent the other team from winning the game, and they executed that.
It showed me the side that had 3-0'd AHQ.
Yeah,
that's what that was, and it showed me the side that beat Blank on Assault. It showed me everything that Flash Wolves have done up until now that has had them sitting second in the standings. Yep. So they just need to bring it back. Now, they no doubt over the next week are going to pore over what happens tonight, regardless as to whether this now series against AHQ is a win or a loss. They're going to pore over what happened tonight and try and figure out what went wrong. Yeah. And given that now they have had a brief return to form, we know that this isn't some permanent issue of theirs. They're not just a team in decline. They're just a team that made a slip up. They'll figure out why they made that slip up, and they'll make sure it doesn't happen again. So this is one of those situations of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, even if they do lose this one against AHQ. So if nothing else, Flash Wolves do have quite a positive to take away.
You know what? After that last map, I want to believe that Flash Wolves can complete the reverse sweep.
It's like a crossover between the X-Files and Naruto. I want to believe it.
I want to believe that.
I regret saying that out loud.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that, but I want to believe that Flash Wolves have the ability to complete a reverse sweep here. Honestly, like if they can repeat what they just did on Temple of Anubis and transfer it on the other maps, for sure. And look, Gibraltar, they didn't play Gibraltar poorly. I think they did a decent job on Gibraltar.
They just didn't take advantage of something that was presented to them.
And yet on Temple of Anubis, they did a much better job. They're not perfect. I don't think it was perfect. I think they could have done it better still. But it was good. It was acceptable, and it got them the win. And that's right now. That's just what they need.
Yep.
And later on, they can rewatch the one. They can say, look, we could have done that faster.
Yeah, exactly. And in all fairness as well, their good enough on Temple of Anubis was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So now
on attack, and look, nothing to really fault on attack or defense. attack, I think like the biggest thing I can bag them for is they should have won harder on attack. And it's just like
nothing to
if that's
fault,
the worst thing I can fault them on, then they're in a good place.
Like all play could always be cleaned up a little, but you're right, nothing to fault them for. And to be fair, I would almost say the same of AHQ. I think on their offense, there were mistakes they made. There were things they did wrong, but even then, they weren't drastic mistakes. They were team call mistakes, right? This wasn't like, it's not like, oh, they threw out an ultimate too late. Like, you know, they did this when they shouldn't have. It was team play mistakes.
I want to actually credit Flash Wolves more for their excellent defense rather than, you know, any mistakes coming up from HQ. Flash Wolves responded extremely well. And what I don't want to see Flash Wolves do here is a Machi where they just dive onto the cart.
And I also don't want to see them losing Zonda right at the top there. Not sure what happened there, but that's actually going to mean they're doing the Mercy strat
again, which is interesting. I think there's room for that, but we'll see. We'll see if HQ fall prey to this or not.
Yeah. Well, in any case, Dizzy able to set himself up on a decent spot here. K-Momo not really finding his mark in terms of contesting him.
I want to say that Machi are less patient against Mercy, whereas I feel HQ could be a lot more patient and Mercy won't be as big of a factor.
Well, you say that, but there was one fight earlier tonight where they absolutely poured everything in and then the Mercy just turned it back around. But
yeah, you're right.
That was just one situation. This is a different one and already picking off Jongi. Realment is actually quite close to the res though, so unless AHQ either pick Realment or pick the Flash Wolves, they're only going to get distance. They're not necessarily going to get a resounding win just yet.
Dizzy's going to go for the high ground here. He needs a little bit of support. He realizes he can't take it on his own, so it's going to be AHQ fighting on the ground again. But look, Lazy Titan's already up there. I wish Dizzy actually committed now.
Good quick commit onto K-Momo at the moment. But actually it just meant Flash Wolves are a little bit stretched out. That's going to be the res, but it doesn't catch K-Momo.
They capped already, actually.
Yeah, the cap already went through.
Zonda committed alt-wide. That's bad.
Yeah, that was strange. Like, Flash Wolves, did they just fall apart again?
I think Flash Wolves kind of did a Machi where it's like, oh, they're about to cap, I better do something. He did something.
No. They actually didn't do something. That's the thing.
Well, so yeah, it's one better, but you still... Actually, I prefer that Machi didn't do something because they didn't commit ult. Zonda did commit ult, and now he doesn't have it for the second checkpoint defense. In fact, they're rather behind. And now he's dead.
Yeah, Machi didn't do something when they should have. Flash Wolves did do something when they shouldn't have, and now Flash Wolves are really paying the price for it. I mean, only losing Erican in that one is fine for HQ because this is distance, man. That's all that matters. Realman, he's nowhere near a raise. He's totally isolated.
We haven't seen it.
He was jumping to his fellow healer who also went down. And now Flash Wolves are getting completely routed. This is a tank with no support. This is two people getting forced off by a diva. One diva because there's no healer. And it's a sleepy Winston that's going to go down as soon as they get the opportunity to. There he goes. And AHQ are getting a ton of space. They got given an inch. They took a marathon.
I think you're not even wrong there. That second checkpoint just flew. Like, Flash Wolves had no setup for defense whatsoever. AHQ rode the momentum wave directly through the hangar.
Dizzy's already set up on the high ground.
Yeah, they're getting so much room. This is so good from AHQ. Flash Wolves, they're only just now finding a defensive situation.
And already the self-destruct thrown out. That's a what? What?
Can I get a what?
They're gonna win. They're gonna win just like that.
Well,
no. HQ, they've got ultimates. There's they can't. Right. They can't even get out of the space. They got the ultimates.
No, you're wrong. You're so wrong.
Earth Shatter. Hold on a second. That may be it. Yeah, I may just be wrong.
Wrong.
But Dizzy's already got the numbers down. And there's not much they can get. Bacon Jack throwing out an ultimate. What can he get with that? Because Cowman's already got Jongi, and I'm not wrong at all. 0.24 meters, and it's only a few more kills as uncontested Dizzy cleans it up. I'm not wrong at all. You, sir, are wrong. Good day. Good day. Good day. AHQ just flattened Flash Wolves.
But it did scare you for a second, then right at the end there with the Earth Shadow. For a moment, you're like, man, maybe I'm wrong. For a moment, you're like, I called it too early. I definitely called it too early. I'll give it to AHQ. They had a fantastic run through, but Flash Wolves, they absolutely fell apart. Now, what could have been a map 5 or what could have been a reverse sweep was starting to look a bit shaky for Flash. Was suddenly not looking like a possibility. And Lazy Titan, he's been known to secure these huge self-destructs. He hasn't been letting anyone down with that so far.
Certainly did not let me down there at all. I mean, I haven't seen I haven't seen a self-destruct get that many kills since beta. Excluding like...
There was like 3 kills.
Excluding GIFs on Reddit, I don't actually see that happen in my games anymore.
Did you cast last weekend? Because he did that on the port.
Well, yeah, but like even then, it wasn't like you literally got 5 people. That was phenomenal. I mean, having already had insane momentum throughout the entirety of that match, from start to finish, there was no moment at all where Flash Wolves even paused AHQ.
First checkpoint they did.
Doesn't count because that was an opening skirmish, right? That was essentially an opening skirmish. They committed an ultimate. AHQ backed off just a split second to deal with that ultimate, and then struck back. The cart was underway. The point even capped before that fight was over, and the momentum just didn't stop from there at all.
I think this is the thing. Like, theoretically, this should never happen. The only way this happens is if the defending team never pause themselves to actually get ults to defend with, because for the entire length of the map, it is theoretically on paper impossible for an entire attacking team to actually roll on through like that. The defensive team will eventually, at some point, maybe it's right at the end of the third cap, finally have enough ults that it's actually they're fully advantaged against the attackers. That never happened for Flash Wolves because they never actually grouped up and conserved themselves to be in that position. Zonda threw out ults. Exactly. Zonda threw out ults. People threw out ults. They didn't win any fights. That was that.
Good quick retreat there by Lazy Titan, keeping himself alive in what was a bit of a hairy situation for a moment. AHQ, all they need to do is find one spot to hold. They've got plenty of time.
Johnny, okay, that was interesting.
I was going to say good hook, but it didn't get anything. And actually that biotic grenade, anyway. Dropping the shield there for a brief moment and the biotic grenade landing down means that Flash will just kind of cleaned up AHQ there. That was huge stuff.
Momo.
Oh, gee willikers. Are we about to see the same thing again? No, we're not, because that's a res out of Crappy. Just in the nick of time as well. The question is, can they strike
Zonda
back?
still.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, because Zonda is still on this high ground. Totally uncontested. Attack buys it to come out. I don't know if I agree with it, but the team should be able to secure this point despite that, as Jongi charging in from downtown, smacking one against the door. Now with the nano boost on to clean up the fight. That's the point cap. And the question is now, will AHQ make the same mistake as Flash Wolves?
Well, the interesting thing is Flash Wolves actually committed very little ultimates in the grand scheme of things. They used 2. They got 4 back themselves. Earth Shadow should be coming in at any moment. No shields to block this one out. Cart is still pushing.
Didn't commit. I do agree with not committing though, because
that's fine.
There wasn't exactly damage to follow it up. It would have just been an impressive looking one where he gets 3 people. So I do agree with backing off to the cart, but this does give AHQ an opportunity to at least force the fight and draw ultimates, if not find a full defense.
Well, Flash Wolves are well ahead now. They have the momentum behind them. They have the initiative as well. Disney takes down Zonda. That's okay. That's the Transcendence, but still Flash Wolves. Oh, what? They should be ahead. What's going on?
It forced the Transcendence out, but yeah, they're actually just still able to kind of clean up a couple of kills with the back of that. I mean, it was okay, but in truth, Flash Wolves held on to enough ultimates that that's not bad.
Because here's the other thing. Flash Wolves committed Transcendence, and yet they still managed to die to Attack Visor. Or Nano Visor, I should be more accurately saying, but that's kind of interesting. Now the momentum has been stopped for Flash Wolves. We didn't see this from AHQ, so already Flash Wolves now behind in terms of ultimates, still technically ahead. I am concerned they're going to play into the res from Crappy.
Yeah, they probably are at this rate as they throw out a whole hog. They've actually thrown everything out the kitchen sink.
That's a no-hog.
Yeah, there's plenty of ultimates still in the back. Well, I say plenty of ultimates. They've got the res. That's all they actually need here. Because now with all the ultimates committed from Flash Wolves, HQ could get wiped and just res and they'll be fine. Tempo res came out. They got the immediate pick onto Zonda, and now they are well set up. They're going to close out Sinclair here as well.
And this stuck. Look.
Yeah, this really tight close quarters fight has now completely swung the way of AHQ, even though it started off as a good move by Flash Wolves.
We've been in this little corridor for a while now. The 2 teams just completely here. Flash Wolves, they're finally committing members. I think Zonda's solo pushing the cart, which is good. Bad news is he's not helping his team. Good news is he is playing the objective, which Flash Wolves need.
Payload.
And what I like about AHQ taking the fight into that side room is they're denying the fight from taking place on the objective, which means Flash Wolves have to choose whether they want to play objective or play the fight. And either way, AHQ in a good spot there now. They're sitting on a lot of ultimates. This is good for HQ, and Flash Wolves, they're already way down on time.
Yeah, they are going to have a nano visor to commit if they want, but HQ do have one of their own. The real question is if
Cowman committed a whole hold.
Oh, there we go. That's already commit. Dizzy and Zonda both getting good kills there. Jongi, though, he's the one doing the damage. He's the one getting the mileage. Here comes the Nanovisor, though, as AHQ. Dizzy is just going to have to commit right into this room. Gets a couple for it, but he needs to close out. Jongi, who almost forgets to put the shield up, gets the health back, and now Dizzy's in a bad spot.
Baited.
Went too deep. Yeah, baited indeed. And actually, that was very much in the favor of Flash Wolves. No res just yet for Crappy. He couldn't even res Dizzy with it, even if he got it right there and then. Dizzy unfortunately respawning. That's not a lot of cart distance though for Flash Wolves. So
that's actually really
still
poor.
Get to defend.
That's super poor cart distance. Like, you haven't even made it under that bridge yet on the wing. That's a concern. When you got 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining, you've had so many fights happen.
Oh no!
And you're losing this fight again when you're ahead in ultimates. Now you're feeding ults into the other team. You were ahead, and now AHQ are going to be in a position where they can get their ults back up and actually contest you.
And they're losing time. They're losing time.
Most
That's
importantly,
the crucial
you're correct.
thing. Yeah, I mean, even if they get it all the way to the end now, they can't match AHQ's time. They will have just less in the bank. And AHQ still have every opportunity to defend.
Yeah.
Oh,
no
caught
way,
out.
Johnny.
Yeah.
No way.
Nice timing there by Erica to keep the shield up, and they pick Jongi. Now he
more
gets
like
his
it.
own Earth Shatter. A good hook from K-Momo, and there's actually no follow-up from that Earth Shatter. But AHQ, still the ultimate advantage here, and if they lose too many members, Crappy could just commit an ultimate. Actually, he's going to go down, so not so much anymore, but Flash Wolves are still on the back foot in this fight.
Where's Zonda's Genji? Like, I'm not feeling the soul. Like, this lineup from Flash Wolves it's just okay. I think they've run way better compositions today that have been so much more successful. And this is just not one of them. And you can tell, they're so struggling. 1 minute left to go. Zonda's been picked up by Dizzy consistently and Cowman. I don't see Flash Wolves doing this within 55 seconds. Well, I could be wrong, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, certainly stranger things have happened, but already being forced back because they're self-destruct. They
Overtime miracle, maybe.
Yeah, they do go on the retreat successfully, but that is more time bought for AHQ once again. Sound barrier forced out for Flash Wolves as well. They do lose Erican and now Cowman, and they've committed the ultimates, so there's the res. AHQ now with the upper hand. They're going to be able to commit the Nanovisor, already opening up with it. No kills just yet. Good block for the Diva for a second there, but it's going to get finally counted out as she gets taken out of the mech. Not much more found for it just yet, but there we go. The rest picking up now as Flash Wolves are scattered. Getting some trades back. Yeah, kind of even, but the payload's not exactly moving a lot, and there's only 15 seconds, so AHQ, even getting wiped here, are fine for this because they can come in for a last-minute contest, go for a big, crazy fight.
They don't have a res, though, so I don't think AHQ have any tools to actually win this one. No, they're still losing members. Zonda dies, which kind of works in AHQ's favor, but so does Dizzy, so it's even.
He tried to contest the cart there, but actually it wasn't in time. It does get capped, but they only buy themselves a minute and a half, so even so, plenty of time now for AHQ to find a hold.
Yeah, this is still momentum for Flash Wolves, though. Don't forget this. They haven't stopped pushing. If they can secure a good positioning, do what AHQ did. Now they want to keep running on doing the soldier. That's cool. Put him on the high ground just like Dizzy was. Get really aggressive here. You have the momentum. You have the ultimates. You're about to hit Tac Visor. In fact, you got 1 minute left. If there's any time you need to step on the gas pedal, it's got to be right now.
Only thing is, best case scenario is, overtime. They get themselves a minute in the time bank. We'll have to see how it all pans out, though. Crappy trying to get set up on the high ground to contest Bacon Jack, who is desperately trying to get both of them, but it doesn't pay off. Jungi does take out his counterpart, but K-Momo, the trade back. AHQ, they've got the res up now. They can commit it anytime they want. Crappy must be a priority target now. Zonda, yeah, and he's not actually finding Crappy with it. In fact, he's not finding anything with it at all. In fact, that is terrible news. Now Dizzy commits his own with the Nanoboost running as well. Easy Titan, he's not even in the mech, but he doesn't even need to be. That forces the sound barrier out of the Flash Wolves, and they're using up every resource that could have had to force this into overtime.
15 seconds left to go. No ults on either side except for a res, and that's a big deal for AHQ. They might not even need it because they're still picking up all the kills, and with 7 seconds, now Flash Wolves just have to dive onto the cart. And
it's round the corner.
The cart is really far away.
Bacon Jack's going to dive for it, but it is exactly that. It's a dive. The cart's around the corner, and the Graviton stops up the rest. Bacon Jack isn't on this cart anymore. The Graviton does end, but now they are charging in inevitably to a 5 versus 6 at best. Now a 4 versus 6. Now a 3, then a 2. It's all over. Rover and Flash Wolves held out, taken down. 2 losses, series losses in a row to teams they had previously beaten resoundingly.
I like that countdown at the end. It was almost like AHQ's countdown to victory. 3, 2, last man, but you're gone.
Unfortunately, though, they didn't actually cap Flash Wolves, so it wasn't like a 3, 2, 1 to the launch of that space rocket at the end.
It's true.
Little unfortunate for them, but look, that was...
Let's check out this play one more time.
Like,
you were very impressed by this.
I was.
And I'm not impressed easily, so I'm going to have to watch this from his point of view.
Well, he's just going to be looking at it explode.
Well, what I like is the team play with the Earth Shatter.
Yeah.
That's what was really good. So he gets 3 plus a mech. It translates into a full team wipe, and the team players were actually what I'm impressed about. I'm less impressed about the actual self-destruct, and I'm more impressed about the Earth Shatter and self-destruct connecting together, which resulted in the full team wipe. That's impressive to me.
So, all right, Flash Wolves, brace yourselves. AHQ's offense was great, but it was only able to be great because Flash Wolves failed at every juncture. When you are in that situation, when you are getting steamrolled, you need to just cede more ground than usual. You need to recognize what's happening. You don't just cede the regular amount of ground, you cede ground plus, right? You give away extra so that you can at least get one place you can defend, even if it's only one, because that's better than none, which is what Flash Wolves set themselves up to get, because they just kept going in. They didn't respect AHQ's aggression at all. And they let AHQ run away with that game. That is all that happened there.
They did that versus Machi,
That was not just AHQ playing well. That was AHQ playing AHQ. That was just them doing what they do. Flash Wolves didn't respect it. They didn't react to it. They didn't do anything about it. And they got annihilated.
And that's the story of them versus Machi. Kind of in a nutshell, it's why are we not winning? Let's go. If we go, we should win. Guess what? They didn't win. And this is kind of... It's not arrogance. I want us to say it's confidence, but not coming from the right place, and definitely not paying off for them. It's confidence coming from a basis of we're better, we should be winning. If we go, we should just win. And then the more they start losing, the more they start panicking. The more they start panicking, the more they just pile on, feed additional ults, feed additional kills. Use ults of their own to no degree of success, and then never actually get a full hold.
And they sit there going, Bacon Jack's not carrying, what do we do? So that's now twice that they had picked Watchpoint Gibraltar. It was their pick as well versus Machi. Now they did win it versus Machi, technically. I don't feel like either team had a particularly good performance, and we also noted on Flash Wolves' offense, 2 very odd things happened. One was Flash Wolves not at all taking advantage of something that Machi just kind of left for them, which could have resulted in an easy win.
Or at least
then
hear
me out. Then having failed to do that, Machi then ended up in a situation where they were at an easy hold and they didn't commit, and they kind of gave it to Flash Wolves. So I don't think Flash Wolves were as deserving of that win as it may seem on paper, given that they got the win. And then losing again to AHQ, I don't think Flash Wolves should be picking Watchpoint Gibraltar right now. Not until they respect how other teams can use that map. Because Hong Kong Attitude are another team in this tournament that like that map. If you've lost to Machi,
they technically beat Hong Kong Attitude on that map already.
Technically, but they also beat Machi and AHQ out and out up till now. They didn't even get to go to Watchpoint Gibraltar. So how do we even know, right? Flash Wolves have to start respecting the other teams in this tournament. That is what tonight has proved.
The thing that's kind of cool about tonight is this is a huge shake-up now of what we thought were standings that were fairly set in stone. This could have been a tournament where, look, Blank were just always going to be first, Flash Wolves were always going to be second, HQ were always going to be third. That's no longer the case. And I'm liking the shake-up of results and performances across the board. Well, not across the board, but at least around that sort of middle to upper pack. What's exciting is, to be honest, we've only just started the second round robin. This isn't the stage in the tournament where it's round robin number 4. Flash Wolves, you've just lost your playoff spot. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So Flash Wolves have a decent amount of games left to sort of bring it back, and the fact that it is not just a clear cut. Every team at the top of the standings has lost to the teams above them and beaten the teams below them. It's now a case of suddenly anyone can take anyone else out, and that's exciting to see. And I'm kind of happy about that in a way. As much as it does suck for Flash Wolves, as a tournament as a whole, this is a bit more exciting. And this is
exactly
this is. And to be fair, these were still. Especially the match that we just saw, HQ versus Flash Wolves, it was a good set.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a matchup we expected to be close anyway, right? That was a matchup, I mean, even as Flash Wolves had won it last time, that is one you still feel is very losable. for Flash Wolves. The Matchy one, that's a bit of a different story, and losing both in the same night is still quite alarming, but I feel like we saw two distinctly different things out of Flash Wolves tonight. First, we saw them lose because they made big mistakes. Then actually, to their credit against AHQ, they fixed their mistakes. I mean, their performance on Temple of Anubis was actually great. And on the other two maps they lost, they still played well. It's just sometimes they made a couple of small mistakes, and then other times AHQ just played a bit better, right? And then at the very end there on Watchpoint Gibraltar, we saw a second thing altogether. That was Flash Wolves actually not being a bad team. They didn't make a really crazy mistake like what they'd made against Matchy. But what did happen is a weakness was exposed. And that is a weakness that all the other teams are going to dive on, right? It's not just Blank who are already ahead of them. It's Hong Kong Attitude who are gunning for a playoff spot. It is Fireball who are looking to get any leg up that they can. It's even these bottom two teams in Detonator and Sun Sister who are just desperate for a win no matter where it comes from. It's probably not going to be Flash Wolves, but if they are picking apart that weakness, then every other team is going to do it too.
There's been a bit of a shake-up as well now as Flash Wolves and AHQ do trade spots after day one finishes up. So
very significant.
That's really interesting as well. AHQ now sitting at second and Flash Wolves sitting at third. And I think Flash Wolves I don't know when they play next. I'm assuming not tomorrow. They play Sunday?
Yeah, and actually not even that. So
wow, okay, interesting.
Flash Wolves now, they don't play again this weekend. And they've got a lot of data to pour over. A lot. And they are really going to have to take a good hard look at what went on here, right? So as much as I feel they did fix up what was going wrong against Matchy, they do still want to reanalyze that again, properly make sure that it doesn't happen in the first place. But then they need to figure out how to shore up that huge weakness they just exposed on Watchpoint Gibraltar, because they weren't a team that had a particular weakness per se. They just lost to Blank, who kind of looked like they outclassed them a little. Mm-hmm. This is a very, very scary situation. Actually, scary is the wrong word. This is a tenuous situation. This is the situation where it's not Flash Wolves, the team, being tested. It's Flash Wolves, the organization. Let's go ahead and jump into our interview with AHQ.
Eric 选手，掌声欢迎。
Eric in.
好，先来分享一下今天赢的闪电狼的心情是怎么样？
心情就是还蛮开心的，就这样，对。
就这样。
He feels really great about being Flash Wolves.
因为之前你们有输过他们嘛。
对，所以说就是刚好1-1，所以说下次再对到的话，赢的话会更开心，对。
好，好，那接下来就是问说，在努巴尼防守温士顿开大推人有什么技术？在2楼推人的时候是设计好的还是运气好？
没有，那时候上去其实没有想那么多，就刚好看到人都出来，然后想说有大摆不开，对啊，对，就这样。
很好。好，那想问说，在坦克在尼泊尔圣所，感觉呢有很多小招数搭配。那如果 Lazy Titan 没有搭配好的话，是不是就会被卖掉了？
对啊，就今天那张图的话，就是他是战犯啊，可能回去要记他一点。对。
好，再一次恭喜 AHQ 赢得这一场赛事，谢谢。
So it was kind of like, how do you feel about what are your thoughts now after beating them, after having previously lost them? He kind of thought, we really wanted to play them again to be able to show that we can beat them, and after beating them again, obviously it's a fantastic feeling. There was a specific question related to Numbani. I think it was Eric that made that great Primal Rage play towards the end. It was sort of like, what was your line of thought into playing Winston on that map? And it was kind of like, for him it's saying, finding an opportunity, then acting on that opportunity immediately to find those openings. And I believe the last question was related to Lazy Titan on Nepal. Obviously, Nepal was a super tight series. I didn't quite catch what his full answer was, but it was something to do with, Lazy Titan. I think particularly being on the Diva, there was that one clutch self-destruct as well. There was a couple of moments there that he had that was quite good. So that's the general gist of it. And so obviously they're quite pleased that they overcame Flash Wolves, who I think, this is not from the interview, but from me, Flash Wolves have been a decent rival for HQ so far.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, no doubt will continue to be a rival I mean, without wanting to put words in their mouths, I mean, these are two local teams. They're two clearly quite evenly matched teams now. Next time they meet, you can bet your bottom dollar Flash Wolves are going to want to come back swinging. So, like I said, Flash Wolves, lot to pour over the rest of the weekend. They will be back next week where they have a massive set of games, if I'm not mistaken. On the other hand, AHQ, we are still going to see them again a couple of times this week, notably on Sunday when they will play Detonator Gold and Sun Sister, but they do get a little bit of a break for tomorrow, can certainly pat themselves on the back and enjoy this win for tonight. We do still have two more days of games. God, that would be a marathon. 2 more days of games coming up this weekend to kick off our second round robin. So still plenty of action in store. And if this is what we've had with just 2 games into our second round robin, who knows what crazy things.
Get ready for the upsets.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm already upset.
You don't look very happy.
No, I'm never happy. I had fun once. It was awful. But I tell you, that is going to be it from us tonight. Congratulations to Matchy Esports and AHQ Esports Club for both overcoming Taiwanese Titans Flash Wolves. That is going to be it for the official English language broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. You can catch all the action again tomorrow night. But from all of us here at the Full Circle production team, thank you so much for tuning in and have a wonderful night.